Hello, I am the Ronan Pawn, and welcome to a twitch.tv/Ronan Pawn live stream on twitch.tv/Ronan Pawn. I got out the bald wig today for Zendnesday. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. What happened to pawns as it seek to every pony? I painted my head until it looks like there's nothing up there anymore. How y'all doing? Hello, Dramasian Hologram 1, a guy called Jim on Hologram 1, and it's a secret to every pony, and the 14th Doctor, and who was it? Dramasian, posting quotes. RMAJ, he's not even on the totem pole. Were we talking about totem poles last live stream? We were. Apparently the thing on the bottom of the totem pole is the most sacred of them all, and RMAJ is not even on it? Shoot! Well, that's really odd, isn't it? Because I feel like it is a phrase. Is it not a phrase? Oh, he's bottom of the totem pole. Isn't it? But that means really important and special, apparently, is what you all told me. Who knew? Welcome to Zendnesday, where we analyze the philosophical implications of the totem poles and the bottoms and hammerings and whatnot. A guy called Jim cheering 5 titties, and we talk about the human female anatomy in great detail. The flagellum is something that I actually don't know what it is. This is Risham, not Pawn, says Hologram 1. When the hair comes off, yes, you can tell what kind of mood I'm in depending on what kind of hat I'm wearing. If it's got fur on it, it's one thing. If it's got nothing, then it's completely another. We're going to be playing American Truck Simulator today to the canon in D major. Or not. We could just kill that. Welcome to it. I've already said that several times. Ronan Pawn, you talk about the topic I suggested to you, says Noah Craw. We'll see if I can. Already I have skipped several words in several different sentences. Just, you know, I've been up for 35 minutes or so. And was greeted to the sound of hammering and whatnot. If you hear the noises of construction in the background, my father is working on some wiring. It seems to be giving him some trouble. Pawn, can you talk about the topic I suggested to you, says a guy called Jim. What were these topics people suggested to me, and why is the windows... There we go. We got rid of the bar down there that was behind me. What are these topics you're talking about? Noah's topic, I recall, and in fact have named the live stream after the simple question Noah gave to me, which was, what really is a Zen master? Like, what makes a Zen master a Zen master? And I thought that was actually a pretty good starting point, at least. And also, I've come up with several topics for the Zendnesdays, but then I get here and I don't remember any of them. I got no idea what the hell I was going to do, what I was going to talk about. So, you know, I need to start writing things down. And I have been, but I've gotten to the point now with my brain fog that I can't even remember to write things down to make sure that I will remember what they were. So, that doesn't help. I suppose for people who have, mind ailments, you know? People who are losing their memory over the course of time, which we all are, get with it. You get to the point where you can't even remember that you decided to write the things down so that you wouldn't have to remember them. Well, now you're just free floating in the cosmos. You can do anything and be anywhere, and if anybody ever says, hey, you were supposed to get that thing and bring it over, you go, no, I wasn't. And then you just start, you know, reciting the Heart Sutra, and what are they gonna do then? You know, damn it, he started doing the Heart Sutra again. What the hell can I do about this? Holy schmooples. Between the panels of chat, you may notice a very bright red number with a % sign next to it, indicating the damage on my vehicle. 65%. I have damaged this truck and it needs to be fixed. Well, let's get out and drive wherever we are right now and go find a place to patch the truck up before we go taking missions when I've got, you know, flat tires and the fenders are falling off and The And I'm half asleep at the wheel. Wake up, you're asleep at the wheel. Wake up, you're asleep at the wheel. 10247, highway, heaven, something, yeah, engine malfunction, visit service as soon as... No, I'm getting there. Hey, we got it going. I was shifting her into gear, and she wasn't doing anything. So where's the nearest, spot? I mean, I could have her towed, but if I don't have to have her towed, plus I need a nap. And you know what? Screw it. I don't see anybody out here. Just making that turn, no signal, running all the lights. Wait, no, let's see. So there's a place to sleep anyway back up here. North end of Show Low. I'm sure you're all familiar. Everybody's been to Show Low a couple of times. It's a very popular tourist destination. You'll often see the fully nude men. Fully nude men. Oh, no. Just trying to keep her running. That's why we don't stop. That's why we don't stop. Okay, keep going. You'll often see the fully nude... Uh-oh. That doesn't sound good. No, that wasn't good. That wasn't... Okay, keep her running. No, now. You're all gonna stop now. Just let them know. Let them know. Excuse me. Just a man trying to get a nap over here. Could you make way, please? For Christ's sake. Tier 5. Pawn, do you have any good life advice for people with gay printers? You set them on the end of the... I'm on the wrong side of the road. I was supposed to be going north end of Show... Oh, shoot. Let's see. If you want to... let's see. Advice? Advice when you swing her wide, swing her wide. Yeah, there's my advice. Ah! What did I hit? Damn it. Get out here and clean up these roots that you got growing on the side of the highway. You! There you go. That's the make way, honey. Yay! I said make way. You hit me. He sideswiped me, officer. You saw it. Vehicle now up to 92% damage. We'll be fine as long as I can get her in. So everyone's been to Show Low, right? You see the young naked shit. You see the young naked men at the end of the street. Just chilling, just kind of in the lawn chairs there, just sunning themselves, you know, making sure that they're nice and tan for what's going to happen later that night. Everybody's been to Show Low, right? I may be thinking of Haight Street in San Francisco. Show Low, Arizona, Haight Street, California. It's same difference, I believe. Isn't it? Hey, see? Yeah, same difference. Look, Randy's friggin' Donuts right there. California, I told you. Okay, yeah, no, go. The vehicle's about to explode. It'll be fine. I just need to take a nap first, and then I will have it towed somewhere. Okay, everybody get out of my way. It's right on red, which means everybody has to stop for me. I decided right now. I'm just trying to keep her going. Oh, God, the battery's going. Oh, no, that's my battery. Personal battery. No. Wake up. Wakey. Okay, good. That worked out fine. Okay, and going forward, Jesus, God, this game is not... Fuck you. This game is not very, you know, forgiving about, like, if you don't manage to get a nap in a while. I was stuck on the desert. Yep, not stopping. No, I don't care. Not caring. Wait, is this the place to sleep? This looks like the place to sleep. I got it. Oh, I wanged her in there. Oh, it's number wang. Come on, just spin her around in the middle of the goddamn desert. They were telling me to have a nap. I couldn't take a nap. I was, I might just sleep again. Because it's been a while, you know? Have another nap. Just get it all out of your system for a while. There we go. Engine malfunction. Well, now we've gotten ourselves... This is an interesting place. But I'm not tired anymore. Well, I slept for a while. Call the service and go ahead and drag me over there for 3,759. Show Low's got a Randy's Donuts. I thought it was more in town. Plus all those gay men. Lovely, lovely gay men. I mean, they don't have to be gay, but they're gay. Trust me. And then the lights. It's engine malfunction. To repair it. Yeah, let's repair it. They brought me to a service center. We're just gonna patch her up. Or I could just buy a whole nother truck and leave this piece of shit by the side of the road, huh? You know? Take the tag off, you want to get on the engine, file the VIN down, and then you just do whatever you need with it, you know? set the bitch on fire and collect the insurance. That's a possibility as well. Gonna cost me $4,822 in this game where like all of the repairs are. I pay like 13% of my insurance on this. I wonder if my insurance keeps going up the more I claim it. Couldn't be bothered. Couldn't be bothered. I'm a 600,000-aire. Doesn't really matter to me. Alright. This guy can sleep 3 times in a row. I just sleep 15 hours, then I'm awake for another 20 before I sleep again, says Noah Gra. Sounds like me. I do a similar thing. Either I sleep for 12 hours at a time, and then I'm awake for like 18 to 20, or I sleep 5 hours at a time and I'm awake for 12. It's not real good for, you know, really anything. There we go! I fixed it! Yeah, screw it. Just jump the curb. Who gives a damn? I fixed everything. It's all working now. Damage 0%, and I had a nap. And time passed while I was having a nap. Okay. Well, time to get a job, I think. Jesus God. Number 1, said Zorglob. That was the most action that you're gonna get out of this entire live stream right there. Falling asleep at the wheel, vehicle starts catching on fire, air filter just, you know, you have to run out there and throw it out. Radiator overheating, you know, you gotta just put the hood up and, you know, don't be bashful, drop trow and piss on that thing, otherwise it's gonna go up in flames. Hello, Mage Lord Exil Birth. I strictly limit myself to 9 hours of sleep nowadays, says a guy called Jim. I'm not able to strictly anything around my sleep schedule. Honestly, on the days where if I sleep 12 hours and wake up, if I tried to get out, you know, because here's the thing, my mind will wake up after 8 hours of sleep if I'm down for that long, and it'll be like, hey, time to get up, gotta get going, I'm gonna see a friend of mine. He's gay and he's tanning on the end of Hate Street. It's Pooh Bear, Winnie the Pooh Bear. And it's you. Oh, won't you take me to Hate Street down in Ashbury? No. What was I saying? Right. Something about sleeping. I can't do it. I don't know, but that was funny. That was funny, wasn't it? No, if I try and, my mind will be ready to get going, but my body will tell me, and I mean in a way that I've never experienced before in my life, you know? I've had a couple of years of life at this point. I've had a couple of years of life at this point, and it's a whole new thing, the way that my body refuses to, you know, I can't push it. I can't push on it at all. I can, I suppose. The consequences will be disastrous. And the consequences of not pushing are borderline disastrous already, so I ain't fucking. Jim Cheering 5, in unrelated good news, I just spent all afternoon genuinely doing useful shit. I got 8 seconds of footage done, says a guy called Jim. Excellent! So you let Handbrake do the conversion for 12 hours and you got the 8 seconds out. That's how we do it here in the video making industry. Get out to the job market, Pawn, so we can talk some Zen, if we're ever going to do that on Zendnesdays ever again. Go to the freight market. And we're in Flagstaff. They dragged me to Flagstaff from Sholo. Where the hell was Sholo that they brought me to Flagstaff? I presume it's in the same state. Oh, there it is. Jesus God, Holbrook didn't have a better place? Maybe you can't get that from here. You can't get to Holbrook from Sholo. Alright, great. Get yourself a job in Flagstaff. Ooh. It's a big town. They've got a lot of things they want shipped. I could take something all the way to Sacramento, California. California for a huge payday. Or you can go to Bakersfield, California for less of a payday. Yeah, give me the long one. Let's take some fireworks. You saw me. You know how well I drive. We'll be fine with things that are explosive in the back of the truck. Zoom in on my radar here just to see where I'm heading. Looks like I'm swinging a Louie. Wait for the fire department. It's good work, boys. Keep it up. You are the saviors of this fair city. You protect most of the civilians from when I set trucks afire after shaving off the VIN numbers. Good work. You keep doing what you do, it enables me to do what I do, you know what I'm saying? Okay, into sell goods, and then we'll grab the fireworks, we'll get on the road, and we'll discuss this matter of, I don't know, whatever it is we're going to talk about today. The nature of a Zen master. What makes a Zen master a Zen master? At least we'll start there, and we'll see if I can't come up with anything else relevant to talk to you about the nature of your ridiculous existences that you think are so important and whatnot. Oh, you're real. Oh, sure. It's funny because depending on what day you show up, I either tell you you are the imagination of yourself, experiencing yourself subjectively. You don't exist. Yourself is a fantastical delusion that you're having. I may tell you that. Or I may just tell you, you are the Alpha and the Omega, you are the creator of everything that we all see. You, sir, madam, are God, the one and the true. Depending on what day you show up, I might say either of those things. Because both of those things are true and are the same thing when you get right down to it. Although everything's really the same thing when you get right down to it. When you get right down to it... Heading out onto the road, swinging a Rachel, get me out to the highway. Yeah, no, go on. Ooh, that's a nice car, too. That's a nice classic car. I'm glad I didn't F that one up. The stop sign behind me that I'm about to hit, though. No, I didn't hit that either. Alright. Fire department doesn't have any extra work tonight. I'm playing Fallout 4 as a first-person city builder, says Major Dogsworth. That's why I didn't play Fallout 4. I was not up for Fallout 4 when Fallout 4 was up for everyone else to be up about Fallout 4. I just couldn't get it up. I was not into that at all. Way too much going on there. Giant sandbox that just... You can do anything and go anywhere. And I feel like they pull the rug out from under you. If you didn't know what you were getting into when you started out with Fallout 4's, they lead in with this really... beautiful, well, you know, conceived, well manicured, well produced, deep story, thing that's going on, telling you a story that's really, it was really good. That opening sequence in Fallout 4, really, really good. And then, you know, the story bit of it ends and sets you out into the big wide world, and you're in an entirely different game than the one they've just been talking to you about for the entire intro. Because the intro was very much, you know, here's what's going on, here's your motivation, you need to go do this, now go do this! And then as soon as you get into the game's like, hey, would you like to, fix this water fountain over here for these, randoms? I know that you've got this urgent mission that involves, you know, your family, and people may or may not be dead, and... But you know what? What if, instead of going and trying, you know, to save everyone who you love and care about and have lost, what if, okay, I'm just thinking out loud, you, search through this sock drawer for paper clips? Huh? That'd be a good idea. What if you collected scrap metal in order to, it threw me for a bit of a loop, and, I realized that it was not my time to be in a giant sandbox game that, wanted to let me do anything. It wouldn't have been such a violent, like, what? I think if they would have gone a different way with that intro, you know, if they would have come up with a story that more suited the nature of the rest of the game, which is, you're not in any rush, go do anything at any time, you know? Just have fun with it. Don't worry about your family members possibly being raped and murdered by gangsters in the middle of this toxic wasteland. Yeah, they'll hold. Put that on the back burner. There are mailboxes to craft. Like, what the fuck? My issue with Fallout 4 is someone who's only ever played 4, who's not a fan of the franchise otherwise, is that the RPG aspect of it wasn't great. I loved the build mode and the make-your-own-story angle of it, but if you play it like you're supposed to, it's not great at all, says a guy called Jim. Between the story giving me a twist, and then I started, like, walking around and, like, looting things, because it was like, hey, you can loot this! So I walked up to it, and I started finding, like, all these bits and bobs, and, you know, you're collecting little string and stuff like that, and I just, like, from the very starter area to the first gas station, I was going, oh god, it's gonna be one of these collectathons where you're just, you know, grabbing everything from the countryside in case someday you need it. And then I found out, by the way, the weight of the, you know, bits and bobs and ends and odds, I know you've got like 900 tons in your backpack right now, but 900 tons is fine. 950? Not happening! You're gonna have to drop some of that stuff. It was like, you know, I'm not up for this. I don't need something like this in my life right now, you know. I just... It's the kind of game that when I was younger and had a little, you know, more time that I was going to put into that kind of thing, might have been it. But at the time, you know, the YouTube channel was in full swing. I was trying to put out 28 videos a month, and I just looked at that and went, oh, God, no. God, no. Give me a game that I can play and walk away from, and play and walk away from. Something that's got a linear story or something. This is not the right time for me to be playing this. Major Lord Exilbert cheered 5. Fallout 4 was 3 different game styles poorly implemented as a single game, apocalyptic RPG with an unfinished plot, city builder, and survival sandbox with no action survival elements at launch. Okay. Okay. I'm surprised that you guys are so, like, openly, like, that's good. Like, when people are straightforward with themselves and others, and that, like, I like this game, I enjoy this game, and here's the shit that's wrong with it, and wow. I like that, you know? You don't have to like the games that I like, and you don't have to hate the games that I hate, but I do, it makes me happier when you're willing to say, you know what, I really like that game, I enjoy playing that game, but at the same time, yeah, that's you got a point there. It helps me feel like I'm not losing my fucking mind. I just need to drop my speed a little bit. I am on the verge of getting a ticket. And immediately goes up to 75. As soon as I drop my speed down, you fucking prick, from 65 to 75. Who cheered? Somebody cheered. Zen, please. Cheer 5 Pawn, have you ever had an ego death before? I've killed many people. Seekos, sure, I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen. What's an ego death, Pony? What do you consider an ego death? I'm sure whatever it is you consider it, I experienced it at the Zen Center. Told many a story on this live stream of being crushed by the people who were, you know, trying to teach me how to not be a self-conceited, concentred prick. Open myself up, rather, to the rest of myself. And not simply believe in this small sense of self that exists at the center of the identity of your brain. Stupid fucking gods, all of you. You know, it takes an hour for Pawn's Zen chip to spool up, and we can get a good bit of the stream. Oh, Jesus, God! Quit talking to me, Cheer 5 Pawn, be honest, in how many states are you wanted, says a guy called Jim. As far as I can tell by my view count and subscriber numbers, 0. Okay. Okay. There we go. There we go. Somebody cheered and I fucking missed it. I'm pretty sure I did. I'm sorry. Noah Crow wants some Zen. Alright, I'll get you some Zen. Hello? Yeah, I'll take, 2 Zen. You still got those really good curly fries? You canceled them? Fuck it, no Zen. Ah! Jesus! Alright, pay attention, Pawn. I'm driving, and don't order food while driving, everyone. Damn it! You pull over, and then you're going slow. You move into the fast lane, you go slower than I am, and get me shoved up somebody's ass. You dickweed! Let's talk about Zen, and how to just be calm and still and centered, and not have every little thing in life throw you off of your Let's talk about Zen, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the ego deaths that I can do to thee. Let's talk about Zen. Let's talk about Zen. Alright, so Noah asked me, he said, here's a good idea for a Zendnesday topic. I don't know if he legitimately was asking or not, but it was just like, hey, Pawn, let me help you out since your brain doesn't seem to work anymore. What is a Zen master? What really is a Zen master? Was the question that Noah put to me, and it's a good question. There's a lot of depth to be plumbed in that question, because on the surface level, the answer is simply a Zen master is someone who's taken a student. Someone who's teaching Zen to a student. In any relation, in the most literal and lingual sense, a person who is a master the moment that they have a student. It's basically just colloquialism for mentor-protege, the relationship, you know? And no one can be a mentor until they've got a protege, and no one can be a protege until they find a mentor. It's a mutually dependent relationship. There can be no Zen master without the Zen student who accepts the Zen master and asks them to teach them some Zen. Mosaic Task Force, cheer 11 for your chili Zen carne dinner order. Chili con Zen carne. con carne y leche. Damn it, how does it go? Con carne y what's milk? Milk is, I don't know. With milk and meat and cheese. So with, if you were ordering coffee in Spanish and you wanted it with milk in it, it's a word for milk. Leche. Leche is milk. So queso con carne y leche y queso. With meat and milk and cheese, or milk and meat and cheese. I don't know. It's 55 now. Quit changing the speed limits on me. It's a goddamn highway. Let's get back to the Zen topic, where we keep our centers. In the most lingual and literal sense of the question, what is a Zen master? Zen master requires a student. And a Zen master can't be a Zen master without a student. And a Zen student can't be a Zen student without having a master. I suppose you could study, you know, someone's work from the text and that kind of stuff. I wouldn't recommend it. I'd recommend getting a real person to teach you Zen. But in that relationship, still, you need somebody to teach you what you're doing before you can be, you know, a student. And the master needs you in order to be a master, or else, you know, the fuck's he doing with his life? Sitting in a room talking to nobody on Twitch every Wednesday, Sunday, and Friday. In the most literal sense of the word, a master is defined by having taken a student and having a student accept them as a teacher. But the real question at hand isn't, you know, can you give me a dry technical, like, you know, what's a Zen master, and then tell me, well, they've got a student, and therefore they're a teacher, and therefore they're a master. The real question here is, what makes a real Zen master a real Zen master? Because there's lots of Zen masters out there. Oh, but there's a fair few Zen masters across the surface of the world. I've met some of them, some in this country, some in others. Some on this continent, some in others. I've met some of them, and you walk into a room with an honest-to-God real Zen master, and it's pretty apparent pretty damn quickly that they're a real Zen master as opposed to simply a person who's studied Zen for a long time who has now taken their own students. You can smell it on them. You can see it on them. You can hear it in the tenor of their voice. There's always something. You're just in their presence, and there's something. I'm sorry, you weren't really seeing much of the road there, were you? There's a magic, subtle something that tells you that they're the real deal. And I've met a lot of different Zen practitioners and Zen masters who were somewhere between being completely oblivious and understanding something. And I've met a handful of the real deals as well. People who jumped out at me and went, holy shit, this guy's for real. You know, if I really think about it right now, I've met some Zen masters who I would say I respect them. They're not missing anything, you know. But when it comes down to how many real, truly awakened Zen masters in, you know, capital M have I met? Two, I would say. My teacher and the Zen master of the Vancouver, Canada Zen Center, who I sat with on Mount Roshi in California for, what do they call that? It's the end of the year meditation. It's the big one. It's the Christmas one. It's in Japanese. Quick, somebody who knows Japanese and is familiar with Buddhism. Are you fucking kidding me? I slept 3 times in a goddamn row! Now you want me to pull in for inspection and take a fucking nap? Everyone saw me sleep. You know what? I think I'm tired because I overslept. You know how that'll happen to you? What the balls? The Zen master of the Vancouver, Canada, he's the real deal. He's the real deal. Sat with him for... God, I can't come up with words these days. I can't find what it is I'm thinking about. Can I sleep while I'm here? Yeah. It doesn't say I... Ah! Hit the... No. No. Come on, hit the button. Hit the goddamn button. I'm sorry, I missed the... There we go. I'm pressing enter. Okay. Can't sleep here, apparently. Even though there's a place right over there for parking and sleeping, but it's just not labeled. Ohayo gozaimasu. Anata no nihongen desu ka? Let's see. Anata no, you are Nihonjin, Japanese desu ka? So, good morning. Good morning, Pony. Am I Japanese? Ie. Watashi wa... Gaijin desu. I don't know, what's the word for stupid American? Is it gaijin? Money. Two. So Sunam and a Canadian guy are the only 2 true Zen masters you've met, says Hologram 1. I mean, maybe that's not fair to say. When you meet someone who you could study under, who you could really, like, there's a connection there. And, there's an instant, like, oh my god. And the way that I felt about my first Zen master, Huolsan Sunam, my only Zen master. He's my Zen master, even though I haven't seen him in years and don't go to the temple, and it's right down the street, but I still don't go. The way that I felt about him the moment that I met him, the moment that I heard his voice, the first, like, service that I ever went to, not really even knowing what I was walking in for, not knowing that Zen was a thing. Jesus God, it's number Wang, Kevglob! And all the other cheers, what... You guys say you want me to talk about Zen, and then you start shoving $10 bills down my tits. Which I'm fine with. Keep going. I'll try and keep talking Zen. Thank you, Kev Glob. And Cheer 5. Nerds is a guy called Jim. Anta baka desu. Gaijin is forwarder. Yeah, I only know Japanese from Miss Hana Minx. Koniko is kitten. Ko Ino is puppy. Cheer 5 is Mosaic Task Force. Ino... Oh, okay, so Ko Inu is a puppy then, is it? So Ko is like a young modifier, because I know Inu as dog. Sorry to interrupt. Please continue, says Kev Glob. No. Go ahead, honey. I'll shake it. Yeah! Suck on that. Please, put the gas down. Put the gas down. Yeah, maybe it's not fair to say, you know, that these are the only 2 Zen masters that I've ever met, but, like, I've met with other very, you know, prominent Zen Shut up, I'm talking! Cheer 5. Wan-chan is puppy, I think, says the Secret Ever Pony. No, that's a little thing that you order with your Chinese meal. And it may be made of small dogs, but it doesn't mean puppy, Pony. God. I'll let the bucket this. So... I've sat with and met a number of prestigious, respected Zen monks who were masters, who were teachers, who had their own places and everything like that. And I've met at least as many of them, yeah, probably a majority of them, who I sat with, and, you know, you only get to see so much of them and speak so much to them and that sort of thing, especially when you're a junior student, so it's not like you sit down at the table and Hey, how you doing, Zen Master Dave? You know, Jai Guru Deva. You don't get to do that. But I've sat at tables and at tea services and, you know, watched my Zen Master talk to another Zen Master and that sort of thing. And there's just the two of them that I've had that connection with, that I've been able to look at and immediately identify as, this person's the real deal. And, you know, you can say that that's just the people who I've had connections with. I have, however, sat with, you know, in the presence of Zen Masters with air quotes, big air quotes around the term. Oh, yeah, I'm fine. Did you see me pull it back? Who didn't necessarily deserve their titles. I've definitely sat with enough of those as well. One, I'm not going to say that this fella isn't a Zen Master, that he's not actually the real deal. You know, like I say, I didn't feel any strong connection with him, or any, you know, big vibrations coming off of him when I sat there. But in Korea, we visited a Zen Master who was renowned across the countryside for being able to predict the future, tell the future. And apparently American movie stars had come to visit him to find out, like, what they should do with their careers and what their next move was and that sort of thing. To purportedly, you know, great success, to, like, good... He gave good advice, he told them what was coming, and, you know, gave them ideas about what they should do and what they shouldn't do, and which opportunities they should take, and which they should wait for the next, and that sort of thing. And so there's some, you know, there's some people, anyway, saying that this guy can, indeed, and does predict the future. Okay, I thought that was a place to sleep because it was a blue icon, but no. Is there another one up here, then? There is another one up here in Barstow. I know! Even though I slept not 15 minutes ago, thrice! I know, I needed to take another fucking nap. It's fine. Don't tell me that that's a place to get coffee in Barstow. Don't tell me that's not a place for me to park up. Don't even. Ray's Hamburgers. Ray's Hamburgers and... Zoom in. What am I looking at here? It's a Culver's. It's a Oh, signals and sure. And I've just driven past the turn to get in there. Son of a bitch! I hate Barstow. We always get stuck in Barstow, in the Barstow loop. I'll go across to the other side. There's definitely a place to sleep on the west side of Barstow. Fuck. So, he could tell the future. Which, by the way, is something that I absolutely believe you can do, because I've told the future myself. When I was sitting in meditation quite a bit, I've been able to, you know, perceive things that have not happened yet, find myself in instances where what is happening now... Oh, yeah, I'm supposed to wait, aren't I? Screw it. I've already been ticketed once in Barstow. Ain't no cops around, apparently. They didn't ticket me, so I guess it's okay. They give you one for free here in Barstow. We got him on the last red light. Let him have this one. But I've experienced the future in my own practice. Hang on now. Zoom in again. For God's sake, I can't find where the hell I'm supposed to go here. If I turn... That's getting me back on the highway. Don't tell me to go back on the highway. I'm getting a nap in Barstow. It's sex workers while I'm here. So yeah, he was supposed to be able to tell the future, and here's something that, you know, doesn't say that he's not the real deal, or that he doesn't know what he's doing, and that he isn't a good teacher, but he's said to be able to tell the future. We went in and sat with him. I was there with my teacher and 2 other junior students, and the fella... sits with us for a while, and through quite a bit of a language barrier, he manages to communicate to us. I think he said, but there was a language barrier there, but manages to communicate to us. I see 3 Zen students. Only one of them will go the distance. So... Here's how I feel about that, okay? He may or may not have been telling the truth. He may or may not have seen the future and been predicting the future, and he's right. I don't know. I don't know. When do you make the call on something like that? When do you say, well, it's over, and yeah, there's this student, but there's not these two anymore. You know, here's the last one standing. Here's where I stand on that concept. I see 3 students, Zen students. Only one of them will attain, or something like that. Okay, here's what I say to that. You're a dick. That's, okay, he may be the real deal. He may be a proper Zen master. He was truly perceiving the future, and he truly told us what was truly going to happen. You're a dickhole, aren't you? You're just a dickhole ant farm. Like, you don't say that, even if you know it. Even if you look at the 3 people there, you say, oh, one of them will go the distance and the other 2. Like, just why not just shit all over everyone in the room, huh? You know? Because then there's going to be like this, like, well, is it going to be you? Is it going to be me? That kind of thing. I completely dismissed him the moment that he said that out loud because of how, just, what a dick. Cheer 5. Dude was just trying to run you against each other, says Secret to Every Pony. Possibly. Possibly. You know, Zen Masters will occasionally do that to just try and, like, you know, see if they can get your goat. See if they can get shit started, you know? So that's possible. Again, if you're doing that to a bunch of, like, people who you've just met, someone else's students walking in, what a dick. Like, I saw the situation from all angles and couldn't think anything other than, wow, this guy is a complete asshole, isn't he? Cheer 10. False prophet, says Jermaine. Prophecy class canceled due to unforeseen circumstances. I like that phrase. I don't need service. Unless you're talking about different kind of service, I need to be able to sleep, and you said I could I could park up over here and have a nap? Okay, what was the button for making my headlights go super bright again? I found a place to park, thank you very much. I'm gonna swing her around here, and I don't know, back her in? Can I back her in? Because I don't want to have to back her out, you know? I've never tried backing a truck into a parking space like that. Ooh! You'll let me sleep right here? Blocking the entrance? Okay, game. K, says Jasus. Hi! Hi with your K's, Jasus. What happened? Is your keyboard going? Is it malfunctioning? I had to do 4, says Jasus. K. Okay. 3 is rude, says Jasus. I had to do 3 is right out! Bad moderatorness. You just asked. I asked for 4 Ks? What did I ask for? Ks? If I go to the left, and I'm really in at an angle here, I have to pull out real wide and then come back and knock this lamp post. I wonder how far up off the road I'm allowed to go. Yeah, we're good. We're good. You've seen this, right? You've seen truckers doing this on your streets, haven't you? I'm just gonna dodge her back over. Okay, I can't see if there's traffic. There's not traffic. Back onto the road. That's how we do it down here at Spoil Sport Motors. Yeah, so there's been a couple of people who I've sat with who I went, I feel bad for your students if you're the teacher, you know? There's been far more people who felt like they were, you know, honest, legitimate practitioners who were teaching, and that was, you know, fair and well enough, but who weren't quite, you know, who were fine to be teaching, fine to be in their positions, fine to be in their roles, but they weren't quite the real deal yet. They weren't carrying the magic special something that you smell when you walk into the room, and that's fine. You don't have to be perfect to teach. And that brings me to another point that came to the mind when Noah Craw asked, you know, what really is a Zen master? The subtext being, you know, what's a real Zen master? Which was that, as much as I'm sitting here talking about having met people who I would consider technically Zen masters, but not the real deal, not full Zen masters, and establishing, like, an extra space and saying, you know, there are people who I would say are, you know, good and valid Zen masters who absolutely should be teaching and are doing good things by their students and that sort of a thing, but they still have some, you know, some work in their own practice left, and that's okay. And, you know, it never ends in Zen, is what I've been, you know, what's been put to me. There's no glass ceiling on the practice. There's always a next, you know, plateau. There's always somewhere else to climb to. Some other realization to have, some other experience to have. The course of a human lifetime, you will not burn through all of what there is here to be had. Oh god, and then boom, there's a place to sleep just off the friggin' road! Just off the friggin' road, and I didn't even have to get off at Barstow. You know, it always rains right after you wash your car. Get out of my way! Yes, I'm crossing on a double yellow. Think I give a shit? I'm a Zen master. 3 students shall falter. Another thing that came to mind when Noah, you know, brought that up was when you get back to that technical and that lingual definition of what's a master, what's the student-master relationship. If the master is right for the student, does it really matter whether they're, you know, by my definition or anyone else's definition, you know, they're worthy of teaching? Like someone who's really, really bad, who's selling the wrong Kool-Aid, who's misleading people and teaching people in the wrong direction, they have a use. They have a use. And the student who finds them, who's desperate and finds that, that person out there and gets misled by them and that sort of a thing, one, there's always someone who can actually learn something from that other person, even if that other person is massively deluded. 2, if what the student has to learn is not to give their will over to someone who hasn't earned it and doesn't deserve it, that's also a lesson. So, in as much as I'm sitting here saying that, you know, in my own personal experience, I've segmented, very against the Zen Buddhist tradition, I've segmented the various masters I've met into different categories and said, these are the real deal, those just don't know what the hell they're doing, and those are good students that, yeah, that they're well on their way. Even as I'm, like, segmenting things, even the least qualified person has something to teach. Even if it's just, you shouldn't trust this person. Even if it's just to teach someone, to give someone the experience of having misplaced their trust and having seen what happens when they misplace their trust. Going down a rabbit hole, going down the wrong path, going into the dark alley that you really shouldn't, is a learning experience, if nothing else. And this life, for many, is a learning experience and a nothing else. I mean, what really are we doing here, if not sort of trying to reverse engineer the nature of our own existences? I guess other people have taken up golf. That comment is kind of, that was a joke. Don't mistake me. You, Sir Pawn, may lead a lot on the path of Zen, a gateway Zen master. What? May lead a lot on the path of Zen, a gateway Zen master. Ah, so I give you a taste, you know? And the guy standing on the curb saying, hey buddy, come here. First one's free. Give you a little taste of it, and it gets you curious. And surely someone actually knows what the hell they're talking about in this. So someone's talked to him who clearly knew what they were talking about. Maybe I should look into this, and then you go back to the dealer. And that's when you have to start paying. Roman Plot, on that scale of completely oblivious to enlightened as fuck, where do you consider yourself, says Noah Craw. I try not to consider myself, Noah. I find it really doesn't help me or anyone else, you know, and that's advice that I give you all. Considering yourself is, you would do humanity a better service and be more deserving of the accolades of mankind if instead of considering yourself, you just wanked yourself. That would be infinitely more productive process than considering yourself. I leave the considering of me to others, and then I don't pay much attention to their considerings either. Pay just enough attention to their considerings that if there's a lot of considerings going on that are all reflecting negatively on me, well then, now there's something to pay attention to, and maybe there's something that's actually out of line, you know. But don't be swayed by one-off angry people and opinions and shouts and things like that. But if you hear the same kind of, you know, feedback over and over and over again, then that's something to, you know, don't consider yourself, let them consider you, and then concern yourself with their considerations only upon the eventuality that you have received enough. No. Enough tallies. Don't take any of that advice. Don't take it. Except for don't consider yourself. That's good advice. Okay? Just be, just do, show up. And the least amount of time that you can possibly spend thinking about you, it'll help. It'll help. It'll make everything else that much better. Run Pawn, I leave the considering of me to others. Sounds a lot like a wisdom, doesn't it? Says Noah Craw. I just can't type it into the bot right now. But those who do not love themselves cannot love others, and to love oneself you must know oneself, Pawn, says Corn Dog Must Die. That's all very complicated, Corn Dog Must Die. Those who do not love themselves cannot love others, and to love oneself you must know oneself, Pawn. I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong, I'm just saying, God, that sounds so fucking complicated. Let me send that up for you. You are others. There, that takes out so many of the variables in that equation. Everyone who you meet is a reflection of yourself. Everyone that you see, everything that you see, every action that happens around you is you. You are the imagination of yourself, experiencing yourself subjectively, and every part of your experience is more you. There is no other, there is no outside, there is no Dave over there. Dave is you. You is Dave. So if you can't love yourself, then you can't love others. Why? Because others is yourself. If you can't love others, then you can't love yourself. Why? Because you is others. Tier 5, Dave's not here, man. Dave, it's Dave, man, let me in. No, Dave's not here, man. No, man, it's Dave. Open the door. I got the weed. Dave's not here, man. I'm sorry. Dave's not here, man. You gotta put the G on the end of man, or else it's not Cheech. They're all dead. Everybody's dead, Dave, says Telegram. Spawn being racist? Thinking. No, I was doing an impression of... Are Cheech and Chong being racist? Quite possibly. I was doing an impression of a clan leader. That doesn't make me racist. That is, however, a truth that I've been reflecting on more and more lately, that has come up in my mind between writing my Sudoku generator and playing with the cats, basically, is my life at this point. You know, in Buddhism, in Zen, we say that everything and everyone has a Buddha nature. Everything has a Buddha nature. So every object outside of yourself is imbued with Buddha nature. And then the question is, well, what's Buddha nature? Well, you know, it's Buddha nature. So that's kind of one of the big questions. What is Buddha nature? What do we mean by that? You have Buddha nature. Everything has Buddha nature. I mean, Buddha is kind of the Buddhist way of saying God. So everything is imbued with God nature? Is that one way to think of it? I suppose the defining characteristic of Buddha nature comes more into view when you consider sort of its opposite, which is to say the self, the small self, the you who you think you are, you know, the you who you believe is you, that's separate from all of the Daves of the world, you know. I'm me, this is me, that's over there, that could come over and kill me, and then I'd be gone. That delusion is sort of the opposite of Buddha nature, so if that's the opposite of Buddha nature, then what is Buddha nature? Kind of the, awareness of the self as the smallest, infinitesimally small part of the all that is the true self. What is Buddha nature? It is your true nature. What's your true nature? I'm just going to tell you, your true nature is God. In the West, we'd say your true nature is God. You know, your true nature is Buddha, is what they'd say in Buddhism. And that's why you have Buddha nature, and everything has Buddha nature. Not a surprise when you put together all the things that I've been saying over the past, like, 5 minutes, huh? That you are everything that you experience, that everything that you experience is you, that you are not just this small little character, this one mind in this larger dream. No, you're everything, you're all of the dream. And you say that in the West, you say it bluntly like that, and it probably, you know, it drives people away, and it certainly makes religious people, ah! And it makes more scientifically minded people probably also go, ah! So maybe that's why other people won't just say it out loud. Maybe that's why a good Zen master doesn't just say that. Just walk in and say, do you know that you're God? I don't know. Cheer 5 titties. This is a guy called Jim. The titties are dead, Jim. The titties are... Buddha nature equals fate, destiny, greater purpose, says Mosaic Task Force. Sounds like Evangelion. Gotta destroy those AT fields that separate individuals, says Kevglob. You got Evangelion more than I did. I just thought it was about a whiny kid and his dad. You know, big robots were there so that you wouldn't get so annoyed with Shinji's fucking voice. He was okay as voiced by the American actor, but man, in the Japanese, I think it was in the Japanese, I mean, he was whiny in general, but I remember one of those, I think it might have been in the Japanese, Jesus, God, I don't know Japanese or understand it, and... Shut the fuck up, Shinji, grow a pair. Get in the damn robot, Shinji. Yeah, get in the damn robot, Shinji. There's a cool story where when you die, you talk with an all-knowing version of yourself while walking to your next body. It's a good read, says Bearsuit Lane. Yeah, Buddha nature is God nature, is your nature. And, I don't know, the more these days, the more and more that just seems obvious to me. And it's crazy to think that, like, when I was practicing in the monastery... Ooh, I'm getting low on gasoline. Keep my eyes open. There is a place in this town where I could get gasoline if there's an exit. That's not a town, that's just a byway. But if there's an exit... Jesus, where's the next exit? Okay, we missed the only exit. We're not getting gas there. Keep your eye out for gas, everybody. We need it. Cheer 10. Nice, clean head. Yes. Yeah, it took me like an hour to try and shave, like, right down to the skin to really get a properly clean shave. And, of course, as of today... already stubbling. I've just got too much damn testosterone. Forces the hair out of me. Just, you know, my body's just... I'm a man! I gotta be a man! I cut all the hair off because... I swear, by the next live stream, it'll be a thick black head of anime hair again. I don't know what to do about it. It seems almost crazy to me now that, that while I was practicing, when I was in the monastery... I know I'm running out of fuel, thank you. When I was sitting daily, it was almost somehow less obvious to me, you know? Just the pressure of practice, the, you know, ridiculous waste of time attempting to answer Huadus and trying to... just being silly and stupid. Getting simple instruction from your Zen master and having your monkey mind turn that simple instruction into... a big fucking mess in your head. And even in the practice, it was just, you know, I shut off my... The thing is, like, when I was deep in the practice, I was sort of my clearest, simplest self that I've ever been. But I also wasn't very smart, because I had intentionally made myself stupid in order to become the clearest and simplest self that I could be. So I wasn't processing logic very well while I was doing that. Who's cheering? Cheer 10. Nair, says Rex Skates. There were 2 cheers, weren't there, that I missed? Can someone butt a face? No one in particular. Mr. Clean Buttle, put this face on a Mr. Clean. No, there's no gas station there. Drive that truck. Stream break time. Need toilet, please, says Hologram 1. Pawn, how do you spell Huaru? Quadu. Quadu? Just look up koan, but I would say H-W-A-D-U. But Huaru is just the Korean term for a Japanese koan. But yeah, it seems wild to think how hard it was for me to... I wouldn't say that it wasn't clear. I mean, it wasn't clear to a certain extent, but more than it wasn't clear that I was confused in my head about the nature. I think it was just denial, you know? Denial, not being willing to accept that, thinking that the idea of what am I, really, and having the answer be God, everything, thinking that that is some kind of egotism, that that's some kind of, there we go, some kind of prideful, delusional, you know, I mean, it sounds that way. To the West, it's just what we've been, you know, brought up. It's friggin' sacrilege in most religions to say something like that. So it was just like a discomfort and denial around that, as well as not necessarily understanding what that really meant, because having been educated in Christian culture. But that is your true nature and my true nature. We are God, which is to say that when you go to sleep at night, if you should dream, Rex controls his dreams. If you're still here, Rex, if you haven't backed out, no, he's leaving. Rex, stay here, because I'm gonna talk to you. Rex controls his dreams. Rex has told me that he would very much love to not be lucid for all of his dreams, because he tends to be. He tends to always be lucid for his dreams, and he'd prefer to just, like, have some proper REM sleep, or just not dream, or dream and not be aware that he's dreaming, that kind of a thing. But for most of us, we go to sleep, and we have a dream. In the dream, we tend to imagine ourselves as one of the people in the dream. We tend to imagine that we're experiencing everything in the dream from one singular perspective. However, I think anyone who's, you know, been around long enough and dreamt long enough will tell you that there are also dreams where you kind of flit in and out of a first-person and a third-person perspective, where you're looking over the shoulder, where you're free of all the characters, where you're observing people, where it's kind of being told to you as a movie, where it seems more like a book, where you are one character at one point, but then in a heartbeat, you're another character, and you're seeing and experiencing everything from that perspective. We tend to imagine ourselves, when we dream, as one singular entity within the dream. But we know the truth that the dream we are having is entirely created by us. Right? You're asleep. This dream is taking place in your head while you sleep. You're telling yourself a story. And every person that you meet in that dream is you. Everything that happens in that dream is you. Every place you go, every object you pick up, everything that you encounter in the dream while you dream is you. You put it there, you made it, you are it, and you have chosen, for the sake of the dream, to tell yourself the story of all of these things that are you from one perspective within the dream. Because it's fun that way. To tell yourself, to not know everything at once, to not know all of the answers, to not know what's around that corner. It's funner that way. So you imagine yourself as one person in the dream, even though the entire dream is you, and in reality, you, being the storyteller and the storytellee, know everything about everything that's going to happen, right? You know everything that's there. You put it all there, you're imagining it as you go. But, in the context of the dream, you, just this one person, this small solitary individual that you've imagined yourself as, only knows so much for the enjoyment of discovering it. For the enjoyment of having experiences and not knowing what's coming around the corner. Who cheered? Because I saw it. I'm creating a Kickstarter to make meteorite and mineral display boxes in about a month, says Rex Gates. Great. Great. Some are primarily first-person dreamers, others are primarily third-person dreamers, says Mosaic Task Force. Fair enough. Fair enough. But, regardless of whether you dream in the third person or in the first person, you imagine yourself in one position. Even when you're dreaming in the third person, you're looking over someone's shoulder, usually, aren't you? You don't just watch a city going on and know everything that's going to happen. You see what I'm saying here? We imagine ourselves in the dream as though we are one entity observing the dream. But the truth is, we are the dream. We are everything that's in the dream. We made the dream. It doesn't exist if not from us. We are simply slicing off a little chunk of the dream and calling this me. Oh, there's gas! Quick, turn left! Is there gas up ahead as well? There isn't. Shit. I missed my turning. Apparently I was supposed to turn there anyway. Alright, I'll turn around and go back for gas. Do you see where I'm going with this observation? Do you see how not unusual it would be to observe this? Get out of my way! Oh, okay. You back up, now go. Good. That's how it's supposed to be. Hello, officer. Just making a turnaround there. Tracy and cheering on and distracted driving, lol. It was intentional. It was intentional. We have two brain halves. Please watch the video. You are too, says Mosaic Task Force. Oh, okay. So it's your left brain telling your right brain a story. Now we've got separate things going on. Oh, okay. Do you see the metaphor that I'm going for there? Do you see what I'm saying? You experience reality in the dream as though you are one solitary individual, and yet everything in the dream is you. Does that sound like a familiar experience? The belief that you are separate from everything around you, even though you are generating all of it for your own amusement? For your own, just passing the time. I'm laying here sleeping, body's gotta do it, mind needs a little bit of REM. Hey, let me tell you a story. The car was a lithobrake, says Hologram 1. What is this sleep we are talking about, says Corndog Mustache. It's not that unfamiliar of an experience, right? It wouldn't be that unfamiliar of an experience if it were true. If it were true that your entire existence, as you know it, you know what? We need a live stream break. It wouldn't be an unfamiliar experience. It would be an experience that you have almost every day of your life. Well, some of us dream more than others. But you have pretty frequently in the course of this life, if it just so turned out that your imagining of yourself as an individual and everyone and everything around you as being outside yourself and separate and not you, if it turned out that you were the source of all of that. It wouldn't be something that you haven't done recently, right? You've already kind of done that. You're already doing that. You go to sleep, you have a dream, imagine yourself as someone else doing other things in a place that's different. There are other people there. You recognize them as not you. They have their own thoughts. They take their own actions. They do things separately and differently than you are. They interact with you. They do things to you. Sometimes you don't want them. And you're in your dream, and you're having nightmares, right? You're having a nightmare in your own dream. You're inventing the whole scenario and telling it to yourself, and you're having a nightmare because you believe the dream so much. Because it's so convincing while you're in the dream that it's absolutely real, that this is real. I am just this one person stuck in this one body, and there's a threat upon my life that when it ends, that's it. And you have a nightmare because within the dream, you believe it so much. Just saying, if it happened to be true, that everything you know and everything you see is just an extension of you, that you imagined it all for your own sake, for your own amusement, because why not? If it were something like that, wouldn't be the first time today for many of us. If you dreamt last night, wouldn't be the first time today that you've done that. So, in terms of far-flung, far-fetched, crazy, weird ideas, I hand you a body of evidence in the form of your dreams. You have a look over those while we go to live stream break. We'll be back in 7 minutes. So, we are God's nightmares as Corndog Must Die. You are God. And you are your own nightmare. I don't know. We'll be back in 7 minutes with more Wednesday, Zendnesday. And I'll tell you how I imagined Alpha Centauri into existence or something.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Back in 7 minutes, go take a pee, pull a knot out. Hello, I am the Ronan Pawn, and welcome back to twitch.tv/Ronan Pawn live stream on twitch.tv/Ronan Pawn. You ready? Keep doing that for reasons I cannot explain to you, but we'll try. Man, I wish Pawn would get a haircut already. Looking like a hippie. Sorry. Wish people played Total War Arena, which is free. It would be fun on Discord chat, says Rex Gates. Ooh, can also play in teams. 10v10. Mr. Clean gets rid of dirt and grime and something in a minute. Mr. Clean gets rid of... and there's ultra power in me. In fact, immortal... Jesus. Thank you. That's enough. Welcome back to American Truck Simulator. I'm God. Nice to meet you. Welcome back to ATS. We're on the road to something. Carrying a load of something else. That's all I can say. I don't pay any damned attention to any of this. Filled up with gasoline. We gotta get back on the highway. You know, Uri. Oh, good. Why don't you charge me for the gasoline then? Oh, is that the A-Team? Did anyone else see Murdoch through the window there? Get back on the highway and continue our Dharma talk on a Wednesday, Zendnesday. Our diatribe here. I actually want to turn the discussion to something sort of science fiction-y. Huh? Shall we have a go at some science fiction for Zendnesday? That'll make my the case that I'm presenting to you, the argument for the nature of your existence, just so much more salient and clear if we talk about science fiction in the midst of it. Can you imagine, for the sake of like a science fiction novel, for the sake of a science fiction story, for a Star Trek episode, maybe they've done this, someone's probably done this. Can you imagine the possibility of beings, alright, sentient beings, fully aware, who were able to control their consciousness fully, who were able to change their experience into anything, as far as they were concerned, because they can control their minds, they can control their own experience fully. So, you know, you can imagine them as aliens with eyes and ears and noses and all of the sensory organs if you'd like, but it really doesn't matter, they're aliens, they can be whatever you want to say that they are. Can you imagine a being that could control its own consciousness fully? Can you at least imagine a being that could control its own consciousness fully when it went to sleep, when it closed those eyes and shut off its ears and its nose and just went to sleep and went to lay down? Because there is a wonderful Dharma talk, which I don't know if he would have called them that while he was giving them or not, but Alan Watt, who, by the way, was the voice in that game that we played not too long ago, Everything. He was the voice in that. They were just taking his Dharma talks and putting them over the top of the game and building the game around... Okay, gotta get off. Building the game around his Dharma talks. He has a talk where he presents the idea to you. What if, just imagine, what if you were a being who, when you laid down at night, the way that you dream, as you already do, what if you had complete and total control over your own consciousness and your own perception of everything while you dreamt? Which is pretty close to what you've got going on now. He shouldn't have pulled out that, and he shouldn't have stopped for me either. That's illegal. I may have run into a fellow there. What if, when you went to sleep, you could control everything about your perception of reality while you slept, in the dream? Everything. Meaning you have complete control over your perception of the passage of time. You have complete control over setting the circumstances of the dream. You have complete control over deciding who you will be in the dream and what role you will play. You have so much control over your own experience in the dream that you have, or that these science fiction aliens have, that you can tell yourself to forget that you are just dreaming. That's not far off of what we already do, is it? when we go to sleep and we dream. We rarely remember that, well, some of us, Rex, complains that he always remembers, he always knows that it's a dream. But for the broad majority of us, we rarely remember that we're just dreaming. We go to sleep every night and we tell ourselves a quaint story that we are not indeed sleeping, and in the dream we believe that the dream is entirely real. So imagine, just take that just a slight step further, and say that you could, because of your great big brain, decide before you went to sleep, or as you were going to sleep, I want to dream of a life like this. And having complete control over your own perception of the passage of time, as you do, being a great big-brained alien like you are, you can tell yourself, I want to dream basically the span of 75 years or so. Imagine, you know, is that something you can just wrap your head around? You can just say, okay, I can imagine that. I can imagine that. I mean, it's not that far off of what we already do every single night. Imagine you got a big old brain like that, and you can control things like that and make it feel as though you go to sleep and you live 75 years, and then you die, and you get to control, while you're having that dream, you get to choose what kind of experience you've had. And in Alan Watts' Dharma Talk, he comes at it and says, you know, imagine the first time that you did this. Well, you'd fill your dreams with just lovely things. It would be a wonderful experience full of, you know, just glamour and you know, all the best things that you could possibly imagine, and dancing and love and lust and just whatever it is that interests you, all of it. You just have all of that the first time, and maybe the second time, and the third time as well, and the fourth time, and the fifth time, the sixth time, and on like this for months. You'd just enjoy yourself when you went to sleep. You'd have the best time that you could possibly imagine in the most serene and perfect universe that you could possibly imagine. And you'd do that for a good long time. And eventually, you'd get a little bit bored with that. You'd decide to be a little bit more creative, and you'd set yourself into a 75-year dream where things were something else. Maybe instead of being lovely and serene and everything, maybe they'd be challenging. Maybe there'd be conflict. Maybe there'd be battles and wars and things like that, and you'd get in and you'd start having fun with the idea of being a general, being a soldier on the front lines, and you'd imagine these, and you'd put yourself in situations that were, you know, seemed dire and seemed life-threatening just to see what you'd do in them. And you'd start imagining those kind of things. You'd have a bit of fun doing that. Where are you parking? Well, I was trying to get it a little bit more so that when I turned and then I could get it, and then it's going to be a hard turn. In fact, keep doing what you were doing, Pawn. Wasn't a bad idea. And we need to spin her around completely here. And eventually, you'd get braver and bolder in your choices. You'd have seen so much and done so many things, having given yourself so many experiences, that you'd just go deeper and deeper and deeper. You'd come up with more and more fanciful ideas of what you could do with this night's dream of 75 years worth of life. And eventually you'd get to the point where you'd sort of be challenging yourself. What could I put myself through in the course of 75 years and come out the other side? You know, what if it was this kind of scenario? Would I make it through? Would I stick around for the whole 75 years, or would I wake myself up in the middle of the dream because I couldn't take it anymore? You know, if you are a being who has complete control over your experiences, then you'd try a lot of different things, and eventually, having lived in heaven, you'd find your way into living in hell, just for the experience, for the challenge of it, seeing what it's all about. And then you'd find your way into living something else. In other words, given infinite possibilities and infinite time, you would eventually imagine exactly the scenario that you're living now, just because you could, and because you'd tried so many things. Alan Watt went on about that, and I very much like it. Am I going to lose my mirror? No. I'm doing very well. Or not. I'm not sure. I can't really see behind me right now. No, I'm not going to skip parking the trailer. I'm doing just fine. I'm not doing just fine. I've jackknifed it. There's no way I'm going to make that turn. I need to leave myself a little bit of room next to that fence if I'm going to swing it. Pawn, stop calling his Alan Watt Jesus. What? We're living in the future, says Zorglob. Sure. Sure, why not? You know, there's a book, by one of my favorite, you know, classic authors that I always have trouble remembering the name of, but I've read a lot of his work. He wrote Siddhartha. He wrote Narcissus and Goldman. He wrote The Glass Bead Game, and he wrote Beowulf, I believe. No, Steppenwolf. Beowulf. They turned it into a band name, Steppenwolf. Cheer 5. Haggis on crackers makes a nice afternoon snack, says Zorglob. Does it? Does it? Eventually, if you had complete control over everything that you experienced in your dreams, you would eventually decide to imagine a dream in which you were trying to explain to others how they're just having a dream, and they were cheering in chat about haggis in the middle of it. Just because you can. Just because you've tried so many other things, you'd say, I wonder how I would respond if someone were to shout, haggis and crackers, while I was trying to teach them the secrets of the cosmos. You would imagine that dream as well. My first excellent in some time, and I plowed face first into a car. I'm doing great. I've done shrooms too. They're super relaxing compared to DMT. What the hell? DMT? Is that a wrestler? What's a DMT? Is that a move that you do? Oh, he's coming in with the DMT. He's up on the ropes, and boom, power drop, DMT. I don't know what that is. I need dream control. So many kinky things, this hologram. Imagine the places you go and the things you'd see if you had complete control. Who is it that wrote Steppenwolf? In Steppenwolf, it is a magnificent book, a magnificent story. One of the gateways to my Zen experiences came through reading his works, including Steppenwolf. And at the end of Steppenwolf, I don't want to spoil it for you if you haven't read it, but basically there's kind of a psychedelic trip experience going on, and the fella, the main character, has all these different doors that he can go through, and he goes through one door and he finds himself on a planet, on a version of Earth, where there's a war against technology going on, and he's fighting the cars. The cars are sentient and they're running down the people. And then he fights the cars, he goes through another door, and it's a completely other version of Earth where some other sort of scenario is going on. And he lives all of these little sections of these different lives through these different doors that he passes through. Is it scary or depressing to think about what I'm talking about for anyone? Like, is it kind of off-putting, the notion that the life that you think you're living is illusory? Is that scary, or is it liberating? I'm curious to know, because there have been Zendnesday streams that we've had where I get to the end of it and I'm like, that was so uplifting, and I look in chat and it's like, God, Pawn, quit depressing us. And I'm like, the fuck say you? It's like, I nailed it. I'm sitting there going, I nailed it, man. Everybody's got to be so pepped up after that. And then I look in chat and they're like, Jesus, God, really? Thank God I don't believe that. Like, what? I just subscribed, says American Truckers. Really? Why didn't it come through? You subscribed? You're on the YouTubes. American Truckers is in the YouTubes. Are you on the Pawn Live or on the Ronin Pawn channel? Thank you for the subscription, or something. I don't know how that works. Did you sign up to YouTube Red or something? I didn't see any money come to me. Give me money! Welcome to this channel, American Truckers. Nah, Pawn, I'm not really bothered if I'm an alien. I'm enjoying this wanking dreams as a secretary pony. There you go. Seems a nice idea to me, says Zorglop. Alright. I've come to terms with the idea that my very existence is a mere thought, or dream, or a higher dimensional being. If it's true, it doesn't change how I live my life, says Bearsuit Lane. There you go. You know? Just curious whether or not this is, like, off-putting. Tier 5, understanding reality is a fairly depressing endeavor, says Mage Lord Exelbert. Can be. That's why I'm curious to know whether I'm depressing you. Shall I have more fuel economy, more fragile cargo, or more just-in-time delivery? I like to take my time. I don't know why I keep pumping points into that. But considering the fact that I do like to plow headlong into vehicles, I think we need some more fragile cargo. Indeed. Also, we need to continue driving around in the cheapest truck in the game, even though I have $654,000 available to me. Existentialism depresses the poop out of me, says a guy called Jim. Why don't you just say shit, man? Just curse. Stream could do with less zen. I don't know why. It's definitely depressing to some people, isn't it? To consider that, to look at your life and... You know what? Honestly, it comes to the next thing that I wanted to talk about during the live stream break. You know, I figured, where are we going with this live stream from here? Where we would go from... Holy crap. Okay, that is a huge run that pays $81,000 carrying heavy cargo, and it's a standard delivery. Okay. My truck, cheap as it is, probably isn't equipped for heavy cargo. I'd need a bigger engine. And I don't have that much live stream left in me, I don't think. What's this one? Back to Sholo, we've been there too often. How about Tucson? Camp Verde? Or Prim? Prim, Nevada. That's quite a bit of cash. Household appliances, they're fragile. Quite a bit of cash for a little bop over to Nevada. I'm gonna take that one. Imagine a situation where you're an Italian king who's conquered a lot of France. You've crushed your rebellions, are fighting off a huge Ottoman Empire with the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, when suddenly a coalition of German statelets attacks you. What do? Asking for a friend, says Gavglab. Shoot the hostage. Gavglab, shoot the hostage. Where do I need to go? Here! Here's where I pick up my household appliances for the run to Nevada. Where was I going with this live stream? Where was I going with this line of thought? Since the original question was, what really is a Zen Master, and since I've been talking about the distinct possibility that everything that you think you know is just a hallucination that you're having, self-induced hallucination, in which you imagine yourself separate from everything that is actually just you. Which one am I taking? The household appliances. Grab her up. And then we gotta back her up and find the... Oh no, it's right out here. It's up front. Cool, the deliveries are in back, and the shipments are up front. Just the way it should be. Yeah, I'll pull in like this. I'll hit the light post. Since that's where we are in the stream, it somehow makes sense to me to talk about where people who believe all this nonsense I've been talking for the past hour and a half stand in the greater cosmos, sort of, like, because it could appear to an unfamiliar viewer or to a familiar viewer that when I'm talking about all this stuff and all these Zen matters and Zen masters and Zen students and Zen, that I think that Zen practitioners have figured something out that everybody else is missing, and so they're a little bit higher up on the old, you know, evolutional bell curve, that they're at the top of the game in terms of universal comparisons. Tier 5, here's one of the major mysteries of life, says Jim. If I've given you over 3,000 bits, but the money's still in my bank account, who's paying for them? Well, clearly it's the government, you slacker. You just, the government dole, paying your favorite live streamer with the tax dollars that could have been used to fix this damn country if you were in the same country I'm in. You bastard pie! One might think that, that I think of Zen people as having figured it all out. You know? that the Zen masters, oh, they've really got their heads on straight and everybody else has got their heads off. But when you think about this theory, this concept I've been presenting, where all of this is a dream, an imagination, it's, we are not an individual separate from everything, but we are in fact everything, imagining ourselves as an individual, telling ourselves a quaint story, that we've chosen to have this experience from a single perspective, from a single vantage point in the universe, rather than experiencing the universe in our native state, which is to be that which contains everything, that out of which everything comes. We've given ourselves a bit of a holiday, a bit of a break, and decided to imagine ourselves as being, nope, not turning here, gotta go through one more light. Given ourselves a bit of a holiday to imagine ourselves as just one of the entities that we contain. And then, some of these entities, we've imagined ourselves as one of them, and then you find yourself as an entity within the imagination that is desperately trying to figure out why everything feels so fake. You find yourself, you know, being Neo in the Matrix and searching for the pill that you can take to wake up from this delusion. And the question is, where does a Zen practitioner, someone who feels how illusory things are and can't quite place their finger on it and goes seeking an explanation for it, and then finds an explanation in Zen, and then studies the ways and the means of waking up from the illusion, where do they stand on the evolutional bell curve of the universe, of all of the beings out there? Where do they stand when placed next to someone who doesn't feel that there's anything out of place, who doesn't feel that there's something illusory going on, that there's more to this than it seems, that there seems to be some kind of a lie being told, and I need to understand. How do you fare when compared to the person who doesn't see any of that, who's just living their life quietly, serenely, you know, not concerned with whether or not they're this thing or that thing, who doesn't see the holes that you see and isn't worried about them? And when they see the holes, you know, if they do see the holes, still isn't worried about them, because it really doesn't matter. Who was it that just said, doesn't change the way that I live my life? Where does the person who has become a Zen master, who has ripped the sky in twain and pierced the heavens and seen through to the nature of reality, to the truth, how does that person stack up to someone who's completely engrossed in the dream, as opposed to within the dream trying to figure out that it's a dream again? And I would say, if you're the dreamer and you intentionally put yourself into the dream, and then you spend the whole dream trying to wake up from it, you're not high on that evolutionary bell curve, are you? You've given yourself a holiday, you've given yourself fair freedom to, like, experience the fullness of yourself from a small perspective, just so that you can have something, you know, a unique experience, and then you get into it and you spend the whole time trying to get out of it, trying to wake up back to the thing that you're taking a vacation from. Where do you stand on... There is a side of me, even being a, you know, Zen practitioner and someone who is not going to stop, you know, practicing Zen the way that I do, which probably my Zen master would say, you're not practicing Zen anymore. But I'm not going to change my ways. But even as not changing my ways, because I'm happy with my ways presently, and they're taking me somewhere that I very much enjoy where I'm going, there is a side of me that looks at this whole thing and says, wow, Zen practitioners from the youngest student to the eldest master, wisest in all of the land, wow, you're all a bunch of fucking morons, aren't you? We're all a bunch of fucking morons, aren't we? Like, our religion kind of dictates that, yeah, we're a bunch of fucking idiots. Because, like, our belief system would tell us that whether you've experienced it firsthand or not, if you're just believing it, your belief system tells you that this is, You are the imagination of yourself, experiencing yourself subjectively. You put yourself here, and now what are you going to do now that you've put yourself here? Well, I'm going to try desperately to figure out, you know, the illusion that I put myself into. Something seems out of place here. I need to wake up from it. I need to become awakened from this dream. And then you're going to struggle your life to break out of the dream that you gave yourself? Wow. You're a moron. You are the universe's moron. Wouldn't it be that much better to not concern yourself with all of this philosophical, spiritual, religious nonsense and just lean back, kick back, and enjoy the dream? Take it for everything it's worth, without questioning it. Zen people are the most desperate losers in the universe, is one way that I like to think about it. And one way that I perceive truth. It's a truth. You know, people don't show up to the steps of a church or to the foot basin of a Zen hall. You wash your feet before you go in. People don't show up to a Zen hall or a church because things are going well. Nobody goes, man, my life is great. Everything feels just wonderful. I'm enjoying all of the possibilities of my life. I wake up every day, and it's just a beautiful experience, and the birds are chirping, and the air is clean, and I think I'll go to a Zen temple today. I think I'll go to a church. Nobody shows up when things are going well. So the people who show up to a Zen temple are kind of the stupidest motherfuckers in the universe. If you believe their own religion, their own spirituality, their own philosophy. Instead of just leaning back, kicking back, and enjoying it, and trying to ignore the fact that it's a dream that's going on, and really throw yourself into it and lose yourself entirely, because what does it matter? You're going to wake up from it one day anyway. They spend the whole dream experience desperately trying to wake up now. I need to get out now. I need to figure this out. It's plaguing my soul, my spirit, my experience. There's one perspective that you can look at all this and say, the Zen master is the dumbest son of a bitch. It's also, I like to look at it like this way. The Zen master started out as a Zen student, dumbest motherfucker in the universe, figured it out, and then goes around trying to get people out, not so much out of the experience, not so much to awaken you for the purpose of liberating you from samsara, this cycle of birth, death, rebirth, over and over and over again. But instead, they're trying to awaken the people who show up to the stoops of the Zen temple in order to get them to stop being so stupid. Because the Zen master knows what it's like to be stupid. They were stupid, and they were trying to break out of the dream. They were just tormented by the dream, and then they awoke to it and went, oh my god, I can't believe how I've wasted my life. And then they decide to spend the rest of their life helping other people who are about to be as stupid as they are, trying to get them to awaken as quickly as possible so that they won't go through their lives deluding themselves. They won't go through their lives like in this sense of desperation for the need to know. You know, alright, I'll help you know. I'll get you there so that once you know, you can be happy, as opposed to tormenting yourself the rest of existence. It's one way to think about it, anyway. And I always like the dark side. I prefer the yang. I don't know which is the yin or the yang, which is the white and which is the black. The concept of the yin and the yang is that neither is good nor evil, that light does not represent good and dark does not represent evil, that there is no good and there is no bad. Life is full of everything. But if the yang is black, and black is dark, and dark is evil, then I'd have to say that I prefer the yang. Just my personal preference. The person who doesn't really exist. Sounds more like Pawn is arguing, why would you play an instrument while listening to a song? Oh my god. I wish I was so prosaic, prosish. Prozac. I wish I could take some Prozac right now. I wish I had come up with such a beautiful metaphor. Why would you play an instrument while listening to a song, says Secret to Every Pony. Yes, just enjoy the song, doofus. That's one way to think of it, isn't it? The whole Zen matter. And yet, even if you think of it in those terms, the fact is that I would not be the man I am today and would not have found any sense of fulfillment or prolonged peace had I not gone to the bottom of that rabbit hole. The rabbit hole of Zen. And I haven't gone entirely to the bottom of that rabbit hole, if I'm honest with myself. I've basically gone as deep down the rabbit hole as I needed to see to the bottom. At least this is how I think of it. You can feel free to disagree. I've gone as deep down the rabbit hole as I needed to see the bottom of the rabbit hole. And decided, I'm just going to hang out here in the rabbit hole for now. Because now that I can see the end, I can enjoy the middle. And if I hadn't had been able to see the end, I wouldn't have been able to enjoy the middle. And I think that's where Zen people are coming from. There is that something inside of you that's saying, I don't know what's out of place in this life, but there's something out of place in this life. And you flop around on the ground like a fish, wildly, you know, trying to get the water into your lungs so that you can breathe. And it's chaos, and you don't know what to do with yourself, and you don't know why you feel so out of place. And so you have to go searching, and you do go searching, and whether you find or not, you would be searching. So, you may be the doofus of the universe, but you can't just be told, don't worry about it. That won't work. It's in you. The need is there. The desperation is there. You have to answer it. And you can either spend your life trying to push it to the side and trying to keep it over there, and having these little fits and spasms of flopping around like a fish looking for water. Or you can take the time out of your life to find the fucking water. And it does mean, it does mean, you know, making an investment of your time and your effort to do so. But once you've done so, you can get back to enjoying the middle, having seen the end. Or you can go straight to the end. It's up to you. Tier 5 Pawn, what the F are you talking about, says a guy called Jim. I don't know. It's whatever you think it is. These words are just sounds I'm making with my larynx. Or my flagellum. I brought it back! He said the word flagellum. I think it's flag... I don't know how you pronounce it. He said it at the beginning of the stream. He said it again. He's a fucking genius. Comic genius. I believe I sleep out back. If you see knowledge as a light bump that has been turned... as a light bulb... I'm sorry. Dendy correcting himself. A light bulb. If you see knowledge as a light bulb that has been turned on, the bigger the sphere of light, knowledge grows. The surface of the darkness, unknown will grow with it. As Jim just said, the fuck are you talking about? Light bulb. You don't know how much you know until you know how much you don't, says Bearsuit Lane. That's okay. That makes... that one processes up here. You don't know how much you know until you know how much you don't. That's true. That's true. Zen is very much about not knowing. It's very much about cultivating the mind that doesn't know. Because the mind that does know is sans possibilities. You know? The mind that thinks it knows is the thing. The more that you think you know, the less you do. The less possibilities you have. I know that all those people out there at the club, bouncing around, acting like idiots, I know that that's just a stupid activity, it's a waste of time, That there's no fun to be had there. They're just low IQ morons. I wouldn't have any enjoyment there. I know that. So I'm not going to go there, and I'm not going to dance, and I'm not going to share their experience. The more you know, the less possibilities you have. Zen tries to cultivate the don't know mind, because the knowing mind gets in the way so often, especially of the Zen practice. The Zen practice is to sit and allow truth to become apparent, allow reality to become apparent in the wake of clarity. You sit, you still your mind, you calm yourself, you empty your mind, and then you can see clearly what's really going on around you. And that knowing mind, the mind that thinks it knows something, the mind that thinks it's figured out the koan and answered the hwadu and understands the meaning of the teaching, is going to get in the way of the virtuous practitioner trying very hard to experience truth. Because if you already think you know something, it's very hard to find truth. Tier 5, Pawn, I have this suburban 80s American mall. And I need a massive 3-floor tall ad hung from a wall somewhere. What do I put on it? Ronin Pawn logo. Boom. Free advertising for me. You get a little bit of, magic Zen karma out of it. Next life, you come back as a newt. Newts have a great life. Newts are awesome, man. Think of that. You just wake up from the dream that you had about not being a newt for 75 years, but you wake up as a newt, and what do you got in front of you? What's your day? Just eating bugs and just exploring, running from predators. It's all simple life. No philosophy, no tuning into live streams with your computer and your tablet and your cell phone and having to figure out your damn wireless network, why the fucking router won't, and then the technology on the router when you go to put a new password in, you put the password into the clipboard, copy it from the clipboard into the password field, reset the password, restart the thing, and then it won't let you in. You're using this, you're copy-pasting from the same goddamn clipboard and the password doesn't. Newts don't have to worry about that shit. Be a newt. Hang a Ronin Pawn logo in your mall. You'll get the newt karma. Should issue this disclaimer. You may come out as Newt Gingrich. Sometimes there's a cross in the line, and that's a less enjoyable life there. I've wondered that about karma, or about the theory of karma, like, does the time into which you're born, reincarnation as well, does the time into which you're born, is that fluid? Can you pick anything that's ever happened? Can you pick any place in the universe? It's a dream, Pawn. It's all a dream. Of course you can pick anywhere. You're imagining it all. You're making it all. You are the source of it all, anyway. There's so many ways to think of these different things and to talk about them, and they're all valid in their own right. None of them are quite on the nose. If you could get an explanation that was exactly on the nose, you'd write it down, and then you'd hand it to people, and then go, oh, now I get it. There's a reason why people still argue about the Bible, about the Torah, about the Quran, and about the... I can't remember what the Dharma scriptures are called. The one that I am, the Buddhist stuff, I don't know what those are called. Reason people have argued about those forever. Because you can't write this down. That's why Zen is one of the paths that the Buddha laid out for experiencing the truth, because the truth has to be experienced and can't be told. Zen master can just talk himself to death. Probably wouldn't, because he's a Zen master. I will, though, and that's why, you're lucky to have me. But a Zen master could talk himself to death trying to explain in the clearest words. And they do. They do. My Zen master, he didn't talk himself to death, but he put a great deal of effort into trying to find the clearer way to express the teaching that he was trying to convey. You're gonna stop. Yeah, there you go. Just honk at him. And coming into the Zen hall for his Dharma talk, and trying to find a better way to say it so that people would hear it. Because it's hard to hear the truth when you've got a mind so full of bullshit. When you got a mind that jumps around, that's thinking about 9 million different things, and that thinks it knows. That thinks it knows some stuff about some stuff. Because the mind that thinks it knows, or rather the mind that tells itself it knows, because the mind doesn't just think it knows, the mind knows it knows, then tries to place every new bit of information that it receives into the context of all of the things it already knows. So when you try to tell it something that it's never conceived of before, or that doesn't fit into the worldview that it has developed and that it now knows it knows, it reshapes the words as they come in. It changes the meaning that's being conveyed. Because it has to. Because it already knows this, that, and this. So what you're saying, when I push it through the meat grinder of my mind, must mean this, this, and this. Because it can't mean any of those other things, because I already know that those aren't true. Zen tries to cultivate a mind of not knowing for a reason. Let all of the things you think you know about yourself and about life and about everything go. Sit down on this pillow, shut the fuck up, if you wouldn't mind, and just breathe and try to stop the mind that won't shut up. And it's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult. It's not going to be easy. You spend so much of your day, so much of your life, and it's been encouraged in society. It's been encouraged by everything you see on the television and in the radios and here, everywhere. All of the best things in life seem to come from people who sat down and thought 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 and thought. Someone asks you to sit down, shut up, and still your mind. It's going to take some effort. You're going to have to literally train to do it. The same way that you would have to train to lift 300 pounds of weight, you're going to have to train your mind to be quiet. It's not used to being quiet. Christ, when you go to sleep in this dream, where you're dreaming a dream of 75 years, your mind can't shut the fuck up and let you just have a peaceful night's sleep. It's got to dream a dream within the dream. It's going to be hard. So, you practice. That's what a Zen practice is. It's literal. It's practice. You practice calming your mind, allowing peace to come into your mind, teaching your mind from scratch that it's okay not to think. At least right now, right here, we're just sitting down. It's a safe space. This space has been designed by people for the act of sitting and not thinking. It's quiet. No one's going to disturb you. Everything is taken care of. You walk in the door. Here's where you put your shoes. Here's how you bow. Here's how you sit. Sit in this posture. Put your hands here. Breathe like this. Hold your eyes like that. Once you learn all of these things, and they're very easy to pick up on, once you learn all these practices, you have nothing to worry about. You don't have to decide, oh, how should I, what should I enter? Should I bow? Should I not do this? When I'm sitting in meditation, should I have my eyes open? Should I have them closed? There is a prescribed way to do all of it. You're told everything you need to know so that you don't have to think about it. You don't have to make any decisions. Sit here and just be. But it's hard. It's hard to sit there and just be. So you train. And as you develop the skill to be able to not think when there's no call for thinking, my God, life gets so much different. I'd say better, but that would be anti-Zen because there's nothing good or bad and nothing's better than anything else. It just is. Everything has karma. Life gets so much different than what you know when your brain is finally free to just chillax. Just be present. Instead of having a portion of your attention that is always somewhere else, that is always inside of yourself, thinking about yourself in relation to something else, thinking about, trying to think of what I'm going to do tomorrow, what I did yesterday, trying to decide whether that's the right thing to do or that's the right thing to do, whether the thing I already did was right or wrong, whether that guy's just an asshole or if he's a giant asshole for what he said to me the other day, and what I would say to him if I had the chance again, and motherfucker... Instead of having a portion of your consciousness that is always consumed by that internal process, whatever it might be in this moment. Just being able to be present. Put 100% of yourself into everything that's going on right there, right in the room. You will see things that you've never seen before. You'll experience things you've never experienced before. You'll be free and fearless out in public. You'll walk up to people because why not? You won't think about it, you won't worry about it, you won't have that hesitation. You know why you have that hesitation? Because you've got that part of your mind that's thinking about you in relation to them, in relation to and what's going to come next, and all the future, and he might have a gun, and I don't know, she looks kind of shady to me. When that thing just turns the fuck off, you have no fear. You have peace. You can do anything in any moment. And you start to develop, start to access what people call the sixth sense, which is just your gut. It's just your instinct that's been hidden under so many layers of extra threads of processing in the old CPU up here that have been constantly consumed, minimum 20% by you thinking about you, thinking about you, thinking about you. You start to get in touch with your gut. Lost underwear is now following. That's a contradiction in terms if ever I've heard it. Thank you for the follow, Lost Underwear. You tap into what people call the sixth sense, and you don't have to think about whether that person looks shady or you know, the situation is dangerous, or because you just kind of know it and smell it. There you go. I was just helping. He was running. It was a Ford Bronco. I saw OJ in it. Spun him out. Didn't even get a ticket for it either. You just know. You just know without having to think. And man, oh man, your gut, your instinct, that part of you that you think is, oh, it's a, you know, evolutional leftover, and it's the monkey mind, and it's, you know, I gotta operate in the up here, higher consciousness. Oh my God, that ape mind that you're deriding and derailing. All the things that it knows. All the things that it knows without having to know them. Without having to make decisions about what's right and what's wrong and reference its previous experiences. When you can really just open your eyes and see everything, 210 degrees field of vision, smell everything that's going on, ears wide open, you walk outside and you hear the birds chirping. When you're completely open like that, the amount of information at your disposal to tell you what's really going on, to tell you when things are out of place and there's danger coming, to tell you when there's a person, to be able to see someone from across the road, across several roads, and just know something about them. To know that it's worth walking up to them and saying hello. There's so much information, science backs this up, that is being communicated. What's the deal? You know, what do they say? Words, language is 10% of communication, if that. Most of the world presents itself and comes to each of us in the form of facial expressions, in relationships between people. It's the musculature, the movements of the musculature in the face. It's the posture of a person. It's their gait. all of that information, when you're open, when you're not distracted by yourself, and you can actually see all of that without having to look for it, without having to strain and like, let me look at his gait, and what does his face look like, without thinking. You don't need to think in order for that to happen. How many, years, cut him off. How many hundreds of millions of years of evolution do you believe in? Hundreds of millions of years of evolution that we have been prey and predator in a food ecosphere. Deer don't have to, like, think about whether or not something is good or not, whether it's a threat or not. They don't sit there and go, person looks unwashed. They don't have to think about it. Animals don't think about it. They see it and they react. They don't question, they don't challenge, they don't go, oh, maybe I'm wrong. They see it and they react. It's natural, it's native. You have hundreds of millions of years of evolution built into you that can inform your experience that is buried right now, mostly underneath your idea that what makes you you, and what is most valuable about you, and what you need to develop and hone, and the world has told you so too, they've encouraged you in this notion, is your thinking mind, your rational mind, your intellectual mind. You need a good intelligence quotient if you're to get through this life. People who are in touch, ooh, there you go, cut him off. People who are in touch with that, that instinct level awareness, that gut level awareness. These people win the fucking lottery and shit. I've told you stories about, where I perceived future events and new things were coming and that sort of a thing. And I've told you, one of the stories I told you was, it's not a big deal. It's not like, oh, I predicted an event and then the towers were hit. It's nothing like that. Just being in the kitchen and knowing that someone was about to come down the stairs about 15 seconds before they did come down the stairs, and stopping myself because I'd had many experiences like this where I just knew what was going to happen next. And I was trying to catch them to see if there was a way that I could explain it other than just some mystic level of knowing. Stopping myself in those 15 seconds that I've got before they come down the stairwell and listening and smelling and hearing and opening myself entirely and looking and saying, is there any sensory input that I can find that's telling me this? Is there a change in air pressure? Is there the sound of footsteps? Is there the sound of the door opening? Is there something that lets me know that that person is about to come down the stairs? And I was unable to find that in that instance. But I knew that they were coming down the stairs. Now you can explain that however you want to explain it. You can either put it on the spiritual, magic woo side of things and say, if I truly am, if every individual amongst us is merely a single point perspective experience being had by the universe itself, by God, so to speak. If we are all inherently Buddha, we all have that Buddha nature. If we are individually everything, then knowing that someone's coming down the stairs, maybe you get to a point in your practice where you just start to tap into your Buddha nature, and you can know without knowing, and there really wasn't any information out there, and there wasn't any change of air pressure or the sound of footsteps. But here's the thing. If you want to go the other direction with that and say, the reason that I knew she was coming down the stairs was because I subliminally, subconsciously, my gut, heard, saw, smelled something changing and knew, that still makes me a fucking superhero in comparison to most people. In that moment. Because it's not something I do. I haven't been practicing for a while now. But in that moment, that still makes me a superhero in comparison to most people. When's the last time that you knew someone was coming, you know, around a corner and they're 15 seconds away from doing it? How do you get to that point where you just know, and you don't have to, like, have a logic to it, you don't have to have a ration to it? I'm standing there for 15 seconds trying to apply my logic and my rationale and my reason to it to see if there's some way that I can reverse analyze how it is that I already know. But I did know, and 15 seconds later, exactly the person who I knew was going to come down those stairs came down those stairs. So the experience was true. I can't tell you how I knew it. I can't tell you whether it was that I was just so open in my senses and so connected to my sixth sense, so to say, connected to my my instinctual mind that is constantly monitoring everything. You know, your mind doesn't miss a damn thing. You miss things. You, personality you, small you, the person who has a name and thinks up all the big thoughts, you miss things, but your brain doesn't miss a thing. Your eyes see everything. Your monkey brain, your ape brain, it's processing every single thing that's happening around you. Every sound, every sight, every smell. And in your life, when you get that sudden feeling like, ooh, something's off. Walk into a restaurant, a bar, a convenience store, and it just feels like, that feeling comes from your monkey mind. Because it smells the pheromones in the air that you can't. It smells someone releasing adrenaline. It sees the things that you are seeing, but that you're ignoring because you're focused on this. It hears everything, and it puts all that information together and tells you, be careful right now, because something is up here. You have that sense. It comes from a very real place. But in order to experience that, you have to let go of the notion that that little piece of you that's focusing on just one little thing, that's thinking everything through, is the most important and most powerful part of you and the part of you that matters, and that it is, in fact, you. It's the tiniest, most meaningless part of you, is the part that says, hi, I'm Dave. I like long walks on the beach. I like watches, stealing them from people who have them in their coats. Here are the things that I like, and here are the things that I don't, and this is me, and this is where I've been, and this is what I've done, and that makes me me. That part of you is the smallest, most unnecessary part of you. But for most of us, we think that that's the important part, and we focus on that, and we develop that, and we hone that, and we pay most of our attention to that, and to the experience of being that. So whether or not you want to say that my ability to perceive the future, in that instance and others, came from magic woo spirituality, or came from being in touch with my instincts by quieting my thinking mind enough that I could be in touch with it. The explanation that is more scientific there, that says, well, you just knew because of changing air pressure and sound that maybe you didn't hear it, but it was a low level, your ears picked it up, and your brain knew, and that kind of thing, that's still something that most people can't do. Your brain will do it in an emergency, and you will get that feeling of, ooh, it's dangerous, ooh, something's going on in here, and you just feel uncomfortable, and you don't know why. Now my next question is, do you trust it when you get that feeling? Do you trust your gut? Or do you, instead, make the logical decision? I know a lot of people in this chat favor the logical decision. I know a lot of people in this chat, just by the way that you play games, just by the way that you've told me you play games, that you've shared with me, and that you've complained about the way that I'm playing games, I can see that the way that you tend to go about things is run the statistics. What is the most efficient way, statistically speaking, what is the most likely to result in my success via the statistics, via the mathematics, via the upper brain? Do you trust your gut when your gut talks to you? Because it talks to you. You don't have to sit on a Zen mat for it to talk to you. I said we've been evolving these awarenesses for hundreds of millions of years. Do you trust it? Do you listen to it? Do you give it credence? Or do you ignore it and go on about your way, doing the thing that makes the most sense logically instead? Walk into a situation, your brain tells you, you just get that feeling, like, ooh. Just feel worried for some reason. Do you go, shake it off and just walk in and carry on about your business? And then find yourself in the middle of a fucking bank holdup? I often perceive greater space, but only for a moment. My mind expands and encompasses more, but then it's gone, and my head hurts, says Hologram 1. Cool. I'm sure you can perceive the Goram future, says Jacob Black. I mean, you can say it, you know, express it however you want. You can put it in whatever context you want, but all I know is that I have, what I know are my experiences, and my experiences include having known that things were about to happen well in advance. Having known every sentence that was about to come out of someone's mouth, and I mean like 3 sentences deep, like a paragraph worth of somebody talking to me, and I'm standing there and I'm smiling at them as they're talking because as soon as they dropped the first word, I knew everything that they were going to say, word for word, and I am stopping myself from interrupting them to say every word that they're about to say on top of it, and also stopping myself from laughing. These are experiences that I've had, and then I've stood there quietly and let them finish and discovered that indeed every single word that I knew that they were about to say, they said exactly the way that I knew that they were about to say it. So that's an experience I've had. You can give it whatever explanation you want to give it. And dismiss it if you want, but that's an experience that I've had. Have you had that experience? Because when I started to have those experiences regularly and frequently, I wasn't doing drugs. I was eating the healthiest dietary lifestyle that I know of existing in a Zen monastery where every day involved a minimum of 3 to 4 hours worth of formal meditation, and everything else that was done at the Zen Center was done in some form of quiet meditation as well. So, while I was meditating, I started to perceive these things. I wasn't trying to. I didn't go out of my way to develop those skills either. To try and, like, go further in them. The most I ever did was try and observe it and see if I could pin it down and say, this is how. This is why. I can explain it now. But I never tried to develop them, because when I had heard my Zen masters speak about experiences like that, and speak about, you know, other Zen masters who claim that they can perceive the future, who claim that they can do seemingly magical and mystical things, my Zen master's perspective on it was always, why would you bother? Why would you waste your time learning how to tell the future when there's still this giant issue hanging over your head of not perceiving the truth of your reality, of not being awakened? Why would you waste your time, you know, it's, as I've said before, you can learn to walk on water, or you can develop a very good golf game. Same activity. Both accomplish something. And at the end, you've got exactly that, and nothing more. My Zen Master's perspective on the things that Zen Masters have claimed to be able to do, whether you believe them or not, was, okay, you know, I can hit the ball 250 yards with a driver. You know, you can tell the future. Cool. So I never put my time or effort into. I never tinkered with it. I never tried to expand my knowing of the future, because honestly, because of my Zen Master's perspective, and I just didn't care. You know, he said, "Don't bother with it," and I said, "Okay." Which is, by the way, how that's supposed to work in a student-teacher relationship, you know? Much as the Zen Hall is constructed in such a fashion that you don't have to think about anything, you don't have to make decisions, you don't have to make choices, in a student-teacher relationship, the idea is that you put your trust in the teacher, and the teacher can make decisions for you. And then you don't have to think about it. And if you don't trust the teacher enough to do that, then don't take the teacher. And if the teacher gives you a reason not to trust him, after you've given him that trust, then take it away. You're a human being. But the design of the relationship and the design of the Zen Hall is to relieve you of all that bullshit so that you can do very important work. The very important work of sitting down and being quiet until you can see to infinity, so to speak. Sounds like you were on cocaine, says Jacob Black 1453. I was eating the healthiest diet and doing a little bit of coke, but a little. Less than I'd ever done before. I've done the sentences thing before a lot of times, though actually myself. Never quite specific, but I often just know what's going to be said, says Hologram 1. Yeah, I mean, that's a natural enough experience. I'd had that before I started sitting in meditation, but these experiences were like incredibly dead-on accurate. Like I'm standing there trying not to laugh because this guy's been talking for 20 seconds, you know, and I knew the word that he just finished saying 20 seconds ago. I knew he was going to say it in that iambic pentameter. And I'm standing there just trying to not crack up because this is so funny and incredible. Why learn to see into the future when most people can't see what's around them in the present, says RyRy1010. Yes, that's rather prolific way of putting it as well. The other thing about me is that I might at some point tinker with that. You know, tinker with can I perceive more of the future kind of thing. I could see myself getting into that, you know, as a hobby. It's just a pastime kind of thing. But with me, my experience of life has very much been sitting on the deck of the USS Enterprise. My experience of life has very much been intentionally blinding myself. I don't know. Can you identify with that experience? Like, I'm not saying I'm a, you know, I don't say this to lift myself up and be like, hey, I'm a pretty smart dude, that kind of thing. I mean, there's enough evidence on this channel of me not being a pretty smart dude. But, you know, I was born, as I'm sure many of you in chat were, because you're incredibly intelligent people, and you talk about deuterium in the fucking Discord chat at ronanpawn.discord.com. You have conversations about the fucking Large Hadron Collider, and I don't know what the hell you're talking about. My life has very much been having too many possibilities, because I was smart, because I could look at things and see how they worked. And, like, having so many possibilities was stifling for me for a very long time. You know, I never got up and started doing anything. I mean, I started doing things, but I'd do them, and then I would see kind of like what they were about and where they were going, and I saw that if I kept going, then I could really figure it out, and I'd be really good at it, and I'd get bored, because there were so many possibilities. There were so many different things for me to do, and I couldn't get myself to sit down and focus and stay on one course. And in the same vein, because of being someone who had a mind for a lot of things, who could understand and grasp a lot of different things, a lot of my life has been spent intentionally trying to blind myself from what I know I can see if I apply myself. Because it's not any fun to know what happens next. It's not any fun to know what's around the corner. It's boring. It's shit. You know, I go into a movie and I have to, I mean, it's easy now. I just do it naturally, but for a long time I had to apply effort to just turn myself off. Just don't think about it. I want to not see the twist coming. I want to not be sitting here tearing it to bits and critically analyze it. I want to be in the movie and just have the experience that they wanted me to have. And if they can't manage that because it's such a shitty film, well then, you know, what are you going to do? But I don't want, for the sake of my intellectual mind, to miss out on the experience of, you know, seeing Fight Club and not knowing until, you know, the people who picked it up really quick, who knew that that was coming, I'm one of those people. If I turn myself on, which is why I turn myself off, because I'd rather see the movie and not know the twist. I'd rather not know it until 15 to 20 seconds before they're about to reveal it, which is about as good as I can get out of this thing. And then the twist comes around and I go, oh, and I'm doing that and everyone around me is just doing this and they're looking at me like, what? What is it? You figured it out? Yes, I did. Damn it. A little too soon. So, in terms of, like, learning to see the future, I could do it as a lark. I would do it as a lark anyway if I wanted to develop those skills. But it wouldn't be anything that I'm, it's not something that I'm personally interested in that much. I like not knowing. Not knowing is great. True 5 Pawn, why do you attract so many spammers, is a guy called. Oh, we get one every 2 or 3 live streams. One person with a bunch of bots is usually what it is. I'm just scrolling up here because I've been talking for a long time and didn't look at chat at all. Your gut must be wrong a lot if statistically it is better to not trust it, says On the Edge. Is it? Have you experimented with your gut? Is it statistically better not to trust it? Or is it that, like, when you look at life through the eyes of math, then there's a clearly, like, I won't do this, I'll do that, because if I roll the dice, then it's going to come up like that. But if you look through life through the eyes of your gut, and you just feel that these dice are about to roll 7s, I'm putting it all down! Yeah! You know, the odds are against you at every casino. So mathematically, you should never go to a casino. Ever. Like, there's so much of life does not fall into the mathematics of life. Learning to trust your gut, learning to trust that your millions, hundreds of millions of years of evolutional instinct is not bullshit. That, in fact, your statistics are built on top of that. Your statistics wouldn't exist without that. So maybe having some kind of, like, respect for where the bullshit little statistical mind that you think is you comes from. Maybe just, like, honoring that, the real power in this processor is one architecture deeper. I try to let my instincts work free, they're just faulty, says Hologram 1. Sit and meditate more, I don't know. I've done the sentences thing before. Oh, I read that one. Why learn to see into the future when most people... Yes, read that one. There's a hole in your sleeve, says On the Edge. That is prosaic and prolific. Oh my god, there's a hole in your sleeve. What does she mean by that? Oh, there's a hole in my sleeve. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'll think about people I haven't talked to or thought about in months or even years sometimes, and then within the next day or so, they suddenly get in contact with me for one reason or another, which I guess is sort of weird. That's happened a few times before, says On the Edge. That happens all the times during meditation retreats in the Zen Center. Like, we came to expect it. Where someone would reach out to you while you're in meditation. What you're talking about, where you suddenly think of someone you haven't, and then you end up seeing them or bumping into them? Yeah. How do you, it's like, you can ignore that and say it coincidence. But isn't saying coincidence just ignoring it? Because it is an experience that we all have, that we can all attest to. We have that thing. I thought of something that I hadn't thought of in years, and then the next day, boom, there it was. I thought of someone who I hadn't seen in years, and then the next day, they called me. Out of the blue. It's almost as though the energy of you thinking about them gets them thinking about you. Or you're telling the future, and you're seeing 2 days into the future that this person's going to come into your life, and so your mind starts thinking about that person. Or, energetically speaking, we are all one. There is no boundary to any of us. And your thoughts are my thoughts, and my thoughts are your thoughts, and everything's connected. And if we can just clear our palate of our obsession with the tiniest version of our smallest self, then we can connect with our greater being, which is everything. Which is all. Can you go into the Discord without a microphone? I do not own a microphone, says Jacob Black. You can indeed. It's mostly text. We've got voice channel rooms, but it's mostly text. Jacob Black, and it's discord.roninpawn.com. We'll get you an invite to it. Pro tip, do not plan, do not think, just go with it. Whatever happens, happens. Believe in the power of bullshit and trust. It all goes okay, and if it doesn't, that's what happens. Right, Tintin. Yeah, not a bad philosophy. Ash, in Ash vs. the Evil Dead, painted a very nice philosophy. Shoot first, think never. And it worked for him in the context of that story. Sometimes even a Vulcan doesn't have the answers, as a guy called him. Logic isn't everything. It absolutely isn't. Yeah. I don't go to casinos expecting to win anything, says On the Edge. I don't think anyone really should. I do. No, I haven't been, but when I do go to a casino, I expect to walk away with more money than I came in. Because otherwise, what the fuck was all that Zen training for? You know? I'm supposed to be able to perceive the future. I'm supposed to know when the dice are hot. The fuck, Sunim? There is no snake, there is no boot. There is only the void. There is no spoon. Coincidence is what you're left with when a bad theory is applied, says Zendnesday. Yeah. Actually. Because what was I saying? If you write off all of those experiences of, like, having someone come into your mind and then they happen to show up, you know, as coincidence, it's kind of a bad observation, isn't it? There's something going on there. I'm not giving you the explanation and saying, and this is it. I'm saying there's only a couple of reasonable explanations that I can come up with. My logical deduction, statistical mind can come up with. You can say you're telling the future and it's magic woo, or you can say that there is more to the interconnectivity of everything that exists than most of us are aware or will admit. Tier 5, maybe Adam mind melded with Eve. Maybe Adam's mind... Oh, maybe Adam mind melded with Eve. I see, and that's how we got telepathy and shit. Possibly. Possibly, just after he was created by the pasta-based squid monster. It's time for another live stream break. I am the Ronin Pawn. This live stream ain't over, although it probably should be. We will be back in 7 minutes. Go grab yourself a pee and drink a beer. Wait, no. Grab yourself a pee and just leave some beer in the toilet. I'll be back in 7 minutes. Anyway, Pawn not out. Hello, I am the Ronan Pawn, and welcome back to a twitch.tv/Ronan Pawn live stream on twitch.tv/Ronan Pawn. I have got these breaks just timed perfectly these days, which means for the next couple of live streams, I'm going to be proving myself wrong, because that's usually how it works. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much. But I show right back up, and it's just like, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Hello, I am the Ronan. Confirmation bias. Ooh, I always like confirmation bias. Jermacian asks, shall we do Sudoku for the end of the stream? Hologram 1 was complaining that just too tired for this. I was hoping for the end. I was banking on the end. Why does he have to keep going? I'm sorry. I can stop. Do you know? I think that talking to people after thinking of them is based on a statistical analysis of the likelihood that I will speak to any given individual. They are the most likely based on the frequency of our interactions and a detailed analysis of their personality. Talking about people showing back up in your life after years, and you were just thinking about them the other day when you hadn't thought about them for years. Cheer 5. Midstream cheer time, said Zorglop. Thank you for the cheers while I wasn't here's. A guy called Jim said it's likely that that logic applies to them too. Who? Confirmation bias? We notice it when they then do contact us. That's a fair estimation there, Jim, that you don't really notice it when you're thinking about someone out of the blue and then nothing happens of it. You sort of just let that go by, don't you? That's an argument to be made anyway. There's validity to that. All it is trucking, which I love, but talking about bullshit about seeing the future. God damn it, says Jacob Blackworthy. You like watching me drive a truck from place to place, dude. Well, a lot of people do, apparently. The confirmation bias actually seems the most likely, but my explanation specifically puts the logical brain in front of the instinctive one, which directly counters the point Pawn is trying to make, so it's funnier to me, says On Edge. I make a lot of convoluted jokes that do more to confuse than to actually delight anyone outside of my own head, but I have to live with me, so other people can just ignore me if they'd like, so I prioritize my own happiness in my comments. Cheer 5, the way to defeat the coalition of German statelets is to crush Ulm. I didn't know why I didn't see it before, says Kevglop. Obviously. And then Cheer 20, have some ad-generated bits. Oh, thank you, Mage Lord Exelberth. I concur wholeheartedly with Kevglop. Crush Ulm. Well, we've learned something on this Zendnesday, and that's important. I'm kind of interested. Now, you mentioned Sudoku. I know everybody's going to tune out, but you should tune out anyway. We're done with the Zen. I'm not going to talk about that anymore. I'm not going to go on about what's the feeling of hope? I've talked about in a number of the welcome back to American Truck Simulator. I've talked in a number of these recent live streams. I've talked about hope and fear and stuff like that. But I was thinking recently about it. What is the feeling of hope? Can you describe that feeling to me? Because my description when I asked myself that question wasn't what I thought it would be. Cheer 5, no Pawn, ATS, time for fun talk, says a guy called Jim. Okay, I'll carry on. Apparently the Zen is still flowing through me and I just can't stop it. I tried to pee it out during the break, but it just didn't all come. Ooh, there's not that many jobs coming out of Prim, surprisingly, since I've never heard of it. We can go to San Simon in Arizona, which is a fair haul. We can go to Phoenix, Arizona, but we gotta get there in a hurry. That's not really my style. Or we can take some hydrochloric acid to Gallup. Let's gallop some acid to Gallup for a bit of the fun. Can you tell me what hope feels like? Because hope is a feeling, right? Hope isn't a state of mind. A state of mind is an intellectual affair. It involves statistics and confirmation bias. Hope is a feeling. We can agree to that, surely. So what does hope actually feel like? Because I think that when we talk about hope, our hopes and dreams and things like that, we all have like a positive idea of hope. That it's, it's hope. It's hopeful. I'm filled with hope, and I'm hopeful, and it's hope, and we smile, and we say positive things about hope. But when you really, observe your experience of hope... Oh, I gotta pick up the stuff. I can't take a nap. I'm gonna need a nap. When you think about your experience of what it feels like to feel hope, what is it for you? Because I tried to think of, like, positive things, because when you think of hope, you think positive things. So I tried to think, okay, hope, what does hope feel like? Well, it feels like being uplifted and inspired, and then I realized, no, that's inspiration, which is another feeling. Uplifted is the experience of being uplifted. That's a different feeling, isn't it? It's joy, and it's happiness, and, you know, that's a separate feeling from hope. What is the feeling of hope, was what I was trying to distill. Those of you with an analytical mind might like this little, you know, this little diversion here. The fuck is hope? What does it actually feel like? Have we been telling ourselves lies about hope? Tier 5, one doesn't feel hope, one only feels its absence. That, or I've never felt hope and can't tell you what it feels like. Either way, says Major Exobirth. Damn. I will see you in the Feels channel on Discord later, Major Exobirth. But you're not off. You're not off from where I'm coming from either with hope, because when I thought about hope, the idea that you only ever feel its absence, that's a good way of expressing it. I can't say that the feeling of hope is a positive thing. I believe hope is a horribly negative emotion. Because when I think of what hope is, as an emotion, when I think of what my experience has been when I was really hopeful, when I was really hoping that something was going to happen, or hoping that something was going to go well, or hoping that, you know, the girl would accept my advances, or something like that, it was nervousness and fear and desperation. I mean, those are all, as I was saying before, those are emotions that aren't necessarily hope, but could it be that hope is comprised of fear and nervousness and desperation? Because when I think of hope, when I recall my experiences of being hopeful, they tend on that side of things. I'm curious what your experiences are now that I've said that. Like, can you think of a time where you were hopeful and go, it was a very positive experience? Oh, being hopeful. Oh, I can't wait to be hoping for something again. Because my critical intellectual analysis of the emotional experience of hope has revealed that whenever I've hoped for something, it's resulted in a desperate want for it to be a certain way that resulted in anxiety and tension and fear. Fear that it wouldn't go the way I'd hoped. Tier 100. H is for help, O is for others, P is perceive, E is enjoyment. Help others perceive enjoyment. What? Okay, so the act of giving hope, when we're not talking about... I see what you're doing there, okay. Is that a phrase? Is that something you've heard before? Giving people hope is helping other people experience enjoyment or something? I think giving people hope is making them fearful and nervous and racked. It's a nice time out, Hubert. Who? Oh, ooh. Tier 5, could you classify anticipation as hope? E.g., it's exciting to imagine a nice Christmas gift, and you hope you get it. Yeah. Yeah, okay. I'm not saying that my definition is the only, or that it's the valid one. I'm actually taking kind of a poll here to see what other people can come up with, because when I thought of hope, hope is bundled with desire innately. And desire tends to be bundled innately with despair. I really hope that this will happen, which tends to mean I'm worried that it won't. But yeah, anticipation is hope. Anticipation, but does anticipation come with anxiety? I don't know. Does anticipation come with a letdown if it doesn't work out the way? Yes. Tier 5. Perhaps the only people capable of feeling hope are those trapped in a truly terrible situation there's seemingly no way to escape from. I mean, I live in Detroit, so I think I would have felt it by now. I guess there is a good side of hope. I guess there is a good side of hope. Because, yeah, anticipation. Even as I was saying that, I was thinking about... There was this one time, because I mentioned, you know, I hope the girl will respond to my advances kind of a thing. I remember this time that I went to buy something at a Dunham's, and some sporting goods, and I couldn't find them, and turned around the corner, looked for the first person in a Dunham shirt, an employee, and there she was, and I saw her and just immediately fell in love. You know? There's those moments in your life where it's just like, oh. And it's not... I feel like when a man says this, he also has to say that it wasn't like... It has nothing to do with cup size, ladies. It's... When love really hits you like that, it's something else. And, you know, by the way, in regards to what we were talking about earlier with trusting your gut and your instinct and stuff like that, like, that experience of love at first sight is one that I've had a number of times. I don't think it's ever worked out for me, but, you know, I've had that experience of just, oh my god, just immediately, boom, being in love with someone. And that is another kind of a thing that you have to go back to your instincts and your primordial and your gut on for, like, explanation of. Because it's never, you know, have to do with, like, oh, she's so beautiful, I'm in love. You fall in love, that's different from saying, oh my god, I'm aroused. But I've had the experience of love at first sight, and so it's like, it's almost as though you inherently know something about someone, even though you've never met them and they haven't said a word to you, but you just see them and go, you know, potential soulmate. Maybe it's just a random firing of endorphins, you could say, or something like that, but... Anyway, I saw this girl, I fell in love with her just immediately, and, you know, what are you gonna do? I just, like, had the rest of the experience with her, and, you know, it was lovely just sharing a couple of brief sentences, and her showing me where the things were, and I, you know, had hoped that the instant connection that I felt was something she felt on her side, and I ended up, like, going out. It took me a day to, like, put it together and go, what are you gonna do? You're just gonna not do anything about that? You know? That doesn't happen to you every day. Go see what happens. So, I went out and I bought a single flower. I don't like the idea of bouquets of flowers. It seems like it's too much. But, you know, handing someone a single flower, that's cool. That's suave. I think I need to be turning right here and I'm not in the right lane. Come on now. Yeah, I think he heard me, and I think he's going to let me in. I think he's going to be forced to, because I didn't give him the option. So, yeah, I went out and bought a single flower, and brought it to her at the place, brought it to her at the Dunhams. Well, brought it to the Dunhams, didn't know if she was working or not, and, embarrassed to say this, turns the story that could go to a very certain point into a whole other sorts of things, but I got there, and I didn't know if the girl I was giving the flower to was the one I'd fallen in love with the day before. I wasn't sure. I thought it was her, but honestly, the moment that I left the Dunhams, my brain is horrible for, like, faces and things. All I knew was that I'd fallen in love with this girl, and again, ladies, it's not about cup size, and it's not about visuals either, because I couldn't remember what the fuck she looked like, really. I just remembered what it felt like to be in her presence. I just remembered, you know, the experience of, oh my god, there she is. So I got there with the single flower in hand, and there was a girl who was about the same height, and I thought it was probably her, but she was wearing a white shirt that day and not the Dunham's shirt, and so it was like she was this, you know, on-shift manager or something like that. Just the right age, she was, you know, but just names, faces, everything else, it just escaped me. I can only blame my brain. It's my brain. Fell in love with the girl and couldn't remember what the hell she looked like. I only met her for, you know, a couple of minutes. It's more than enough time for me to fall head over heels. Go buying roses for people. But I approached her with the flower and said, Remember yesterday I came in, to buy golf gloves. You showed me where they were. And she just kinda, like, not a no, but not a yes, so she didn't remember, but it was still possible, so I still don't know if the girl I was talking to was the right fucking girl. But anyway, I handed her the rose and said, I was immediately taken with you, and I was wondering if you'd let me, buy you a meal sometime. And she said, oh, well, I'm in a relationship. So that was that. But the reason that I thought of that, and I'll be curious to look over at your comments, I forgot about, couldn't remember what the girl I fell in love with the day before looked like. The reason I thought about that was when I was talking about hope. When I was getting the flower and when I was going over to see her and everything, yeah, it was that mixture of positive anticipation and the hope that we usually describe when we say hope, you know, the uplifting part of hope, the something new on the horizon, anticipation, excitement, mixed with hesitation, doubt, and fear. And maybe that's the nature of hope. Maybe you can't have hope without hesitation, doubt, and fear. Maybe that's what I'm getting at. Maybe that's why I started thinking about hope and asking myself, what really is the feeling of hope? Because there is an uplifting side to hope, or there can be, but I don't think you can get the uplifting side without having, at the same time, the worried side. You know? I hope she'll take the rose, and she'll remember me, and she'll have had the same connection, and I hope I'll remember the fucking right girl, and will be handing it to some other girl, and then not know for the rest of my life whether, you know, the real girl did actually have an instant connection and would have accepted the rose, but I couldn't remember what the fuck she looked like and gave the wrong girl the rose. Hope to piss her. I hope all of those things, but at the same time, all that, you know, worry and the other side of hope. Maybe that's what hope is, a mixture. How do you cope, says Jim, with hope, apparently. Isn't hoping for a Christmas present thinking, oh, it's gonna be so I'm gonna be so disappointed if I don't get it, says Zendnesday. Suppose it's how you look at it. Rubber Ducky! You're my pal, Rubber Ducky, until the end, Rubber Ducky. That didn't rhyme at all, and neither did this. Boom. You should get diesel. Oh, house! 20... Oh, I should have gotten diesel before I left. That'll be fine. I've never run out of gas 3 times in the same live stream before. Evil Diner Balkan subscribes. I don't know what to say in this moment, so I guess hi. Thank you, Evil Diner Balkan, for the subscription. Let's get some pawns in chat as I try and catch up with chat before the pawns displace it. If hope is a type of anticipation, perhaps we should identify what anticipation is. Pawn, was this girl a lesbian, says Telegram one? Very possible. Very possible. Mage Lord Exelberth, identify what anticipation is. That'd be, yeah, we could dig down that rabbit hole. I feel like maybe Pawn doesn't get out enough. Too much time meditating, I'm sure. Back then, I hadn't even discovered the Zen Center yet. I was on my way. That's kind of how I got there. And Rubber Ducky is with the follow. Thank you, Rubber Ducky, for the host and the follow. Back at that time, I was sort of building up the karma that allowed me to find the Zen Center, is how I think of it. Because things like meeting a girl who I immediately fall in love with, and instead of just walking out of the store and going, ooh, wasn't that a nice feeling of being in love, but I'm not going to do anything about it. You know, actually going and getting the rose and taking the risk, and then, you know, she takes the rose, but, I mean, I think I gave her the rose. I didn't like, oh, we'll give it back. You know, just walking out, and it's like, oh, well, there you go. I took a risk. Didn't hurt me at all. You know, I had hoped that there was going to be I will pull in, thank you. I had hoped that she would have reciprocated, but, you know, once the hope was gone, and it's over. You know, and I'm actually left feeling good. I just gave a girl a rose. If nothing else, I'm guessing she's pretty happy right now. You know? Somebody comes up to you and says, I saw you the other day, I was just smitten with you. Could I take you out for a drink sometime? Doesn't matter if they're if they look like I do. You'll still be like, oh, that was nice. You know, you feel, oh, I guess I'm pretty sexy. I'm pretty desirable over here, you know? the very least. So it wasn't a bad experience in the end, and I was doing things like that, you know, going out on the limbs and taking the risks and trying things that I normally wouldn't do and trying things that I'd never done before, and it was precisely that. What's the opposite of risk aversion? That risk invitingness. Anticipation. It was precisely that led to my my discovering the Zen Center, discovering that Zen was a thing, and developing a practice at the Zen Center. Do you know where the Cones mod is for ATS? Cones? No, never heard of it, Jacob. Jacob Black. I've got 5 other girls that might accept that rose, so I'm going to need it back, please. Oh, you're not gonna go out with me? Give me the coupon back. I also followed this reference. Oh, did you? And I missed it. Thank you for the follow. I will occasionally miss things. A lot. Most of the time I'll miss things. Cheer 5, I think anyone should take compliments from anyone, really, says a guy called Jim. Compliment's a compliment. Yes, makes you feel good, you know? I think men rarely have the experience, but I think we do tend to get the experience at one time or another in our lives. I don't know. But have you ever had somebody say, nice butt? That's really nice, isn't it? Even if you know you've got an awful butt and it's saggy and it's just covered in hair. I mean, it's all over your chest, and what are you going to do? You know, shaving your ass, it's just, there's a lot of reach around involved in that, and not even the fun kind of reach. I didn't violate the... Oh, I did. It's the yellow. The left was yellow. It was red anyway. I was going because of the... Okay. You can have the money. Even when you know you don't have a nice butt. If somebody says, nice butt, it feels nice, doesn't it? I mean, I don't know. I guess women might have a different experience. I really don't think they do. I really don't think they do. You know, you get catcalled by some dudes sitting in a, you know, just hanging out there like, hey, baby, I guess there's... I don't know. It's got to be nice on some level, even if it's full of, Jesus Christ, those assholes. They're still kind of, but I am hot. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I don't blame you, but come on, keep it in your pants. It's always nice, isn't it? Even to be catcalled? I don't know. I don't know. I've never been a woman, physically. Dressed as one. Has anyone ever catcalled me while I was dressed as... I was kind of worried when I was dressed as a woman that they would. Because then it feels like a lie, doesn't it? It feels like you've misled someone. Dressed as a woman walking down the street and somebody, hey, baby, oh! Maybe they wouldn't go, oh. Maybe they'd go, oh, hey, baby! You know, but... It's a certain nervousness when you're a man in a short skirt and nylons. There's a certain nervousness that goes along. Especially on the streets of Detroit. Put it into cruise at 72, I'm fine. Your male pattern boldness is coming along nicely this time of year. This is a Bearsuit Lane. Thank you. ATS, instead of the green symbol, there is cones in its place. There's a mod for that? I don't mind being looked at like that to a degree, says Jim. As a woman, Jim says that he doesn't mind being looked at like that to a degree. I remember, like, one of the times that made me feel real good was I was in the Zen Center. We every now and then, didn't happen, you know, we weren't living lavish lives. It was a fucking monastery, but every now and then, our lives being fairly not lavish, there would be the kind of lavishing that you only get, that I would never give myself. And we would go, once in a blue moon, to a sauna. Outside Detroit. I don't remember where we had to drive to go to the sauna, but it was a ways away. They're not very prolific here in Michigan. Certainly not in the south of Michigan. Maybe in the UP. But we would go to a sauna. And all of the Zen students went to a sauna. And if I recall correctly, there were... I don't want to leave him out. There were at least 3 of us anyway. There was me, there was Madhu, and there was Hesham. Hesham was a girl. And saunas are nude sorts of things. Or they can be, if you take the towel off. And I walked into the sauna nude, because towel. Who needs that? I'm going into a sauna with a man and a woman. Who needs the towel? So I walked into the sauna nude, and there was everybody else nude, including Hesham. And I walked in, set down my towel, turned around to sit down on it, and she said, "Ooh, nice ass." And I still remember that story to the day. So, what you need to bear in mind is if you want the world to be a better place, you're never going to get Trump out of office or repair the ailing systems of your government. What you can do to make the world a better place is find someone who maybe doesn't even have a nice ass and tell them, "Nice ass," because they're going to remember that for years. Okay? They're going to remember that for years. Uplift someone's day. Observe that they have a fine ass. You know? Find somebody who needs a... You know, one of the... I apparently can't whistle. I've been talking for 3 hours. Find someone who needs a cat call and give them a cat call. Make them feel it. Detroit has seen better days, says Jacob Black. I don't know that it has. No, it has. It has. Alright, slow it down. I'm doing 71 and a 65. Let's get at least down to 69, where I like it, in the sauna. What up, meow? Nice ass. What? Oh, that was such a fun experience. I just wish that our culture and our society... I know, I'm running out of fuel. Thank you. I'll get off here and I'll grab some petrol. I just wish that our society and our culture, that you could find those experiences without going to a Zen center, that we were a little bit more open, generally speaking, you know? I was in a friggin' Zen center, and because we were rather open people, sitting on meditation mats, becoming open 3 to 4 hours a day, that was the kind of thing that could happen, but in this nation, in this culture, in my state, and with the people that I know, it's... You don't get those kind of innocently fun, sexy experiences. It's either got to be full-on dirty naughty, or it's got to be puritanically Christian or something. Oh, I'm sleepy, too. Oh, well, this is perfect, then. It's perfect because I need the petrol and I need a nap. So let's have a nap and grab a bit of gas. It's just a shame that you have to go to such far-flung reaches to, like, be able to be in the presence of a member of the opposite gender naked in a sauna, commenting on each other's, posteriors and whatnot. I wonder if I said nice tits back to her. I don't think I did. I think I just accepted the compliment. But it's a sad thing that you have to go so far and so wide to have such interesting experiences that you will remember for so long, that were completely innocent and fun and cheeky. And maybe it's different in other places in the world. I mean, this is the Midwest. We're the Rust Belt. We're rusty people. We're boring. Another way of putting it. There are far worse things than me, about me than my butt, says Jim. There tend to be far worse things to a person than their butt. In fact, there aren't a whole lot of things better than he says. I just watched the movie Super on Netflix. Have you ever heard of Super? Have you ever seen or heard of Super? Because it definitely got under my radar whenever it came out. It's on Netflix, and I wonder if it went direct to Netflix as kind of a it didn't do well at the box office thing, or rather, we just didn't send it to the box office because we didn't like it. Was Super a movie that anyone's heard of? Just Super. Just the word Super. About a middle-aged white guy who decides to make himself a superhero costume and go out and fight crime with a plumber's wrench. Ever heard of that film? Anybody ever seen it? Because I saw it on Netflix, and it was quite good. It was silly, but it was appropriate to the tone that it set, and it was done rather well. And the reason that it comes to mind now is that it's one of these films where at the beginning of the movie, well, I mean, the theme is pretty normal and prolific. Yeah, get out of my way. At the beginning of the movie, the fella is sitting at home with his wife, and in a very childlike fashion, he's drawing with, like, crayon or colored pencil or something like that. He draws the best moments of his life, the perfect moments of his life, rather. What he calls the perfect moments of his life, he draws them out and hangs them on the wall, and tells his wife, these will inspire me to you know, always remember the good times, or something like that. And he draws the best moments of his life, and he says, there are two perfect moments of my life, the day that I married my wife, and something else, and I forget. But he's got two moments. And then by the end of the movie, it closes on, he's got a whole wall full of the same childlike drawings. Because over the course of the movie, the events of his life, the risks that he took, and the things that he did, and the, you know, it opened him up. And now, and I remember looking, like, in the movie, you can look closely and see some of these drawings are of things as simple as just, like, you know, giving someone $1 on the side of the road, as having a conversation with something, but he now considers these the best moments of his life, and he has all these memories stacked up now that he considers as being worthy, that his life is worthy, more worthy than it was before, when he could only say, I've had two perfect moments. Now he's had, you know, he's racking them up by the day, his perfect moments where everything was just perfect. So, you know, that's an underlying theme for a lot of films. You know, the protagonist starts out in a certain place, not, you know, recognizing the value of their own life, and then, through a series of adventures, they wind up at exactly where they started, but they've learned something, and now have a new perspective on life. It's done well in Super, and it's done in a very interesting way, and it turns in a direction that you don't see coming. I mean, you kind of hope it's coming, because if it doesn't make that turn, then it's going to be trite and contrived and just like all the rest, but then it makes the turn in the direction of something unique and interesting and fun and good, and made it worthwhile. Has anyone heard of this goddamn movie I've been ranting on about? The thing that got me ranting on about this movie is that idea of the perfect moments in life. I remember very vividly and very happily, you know, the moment of standing in a sauna naked with my two other Zen students, one of them being a woman, and going to sit down, and she says, hey, nice ass. That would go on the wall as one of those things that I remember, and I think of as, that was a good moment. I wish I would have more moments like that. And what a shame it is that the culture, the society, and that our own individual life choices don't result in more moments like that. I suppose the question is there a better way to be living that can result in more moments like that? And the answer that I have, because it's how I ended up at the Zen Center, how I managed to come into the scenario where I was having experiences like those, highly memorable, you know, best, perfect moments in my life kind of thing, was through breaking out of my happy, convenient things I already do, and know how they go, and am content with box. It involves trying new things, taking risks, getting somebody slamming on their brakes because I crept up their ass. They do that, too. They do that. Assholes in American Truck Simulator and in America in general. You get close to their butt and they lock up the brakes. Jesus. Do you want me to destroy your vehicle? 49 tons of weight behind me. Pro tip, Jacob, if people want you gone from a server or a stream, they will get it done. What? What? We all need to start doing things that we don't do. Start going places we don't go, meeting people we're not interested in, quote unquote, reaching out. Like, if you want to have perfect moments, you have to create the possibility for them to emerge. And you will not create the possibility for perfect moments by resting in your comfortable little sphere. And it's scary because it involves hope. But through consistent practice of being open, and when someone asks you a question and invites you somewhere and your immediate response is no, to just say yes instead. Through the practice of doing that, you will come to be familiar with doing that and with taking those risks, and then there will be less hope and less fear, and then there will just be the perfect moments. Cheer 5 Pawn, we have a fuckwit for you to get rid of, says a guy called Jim. Oh god, another one? This whole damn audience and Discord server just full of them. I can't get rid of them. You know, the thing is, you get one of them in and it's like termites. They just reproduce. Lets out a sigh. Hologram 1 lets out a sigh. Ronan is the only mod left, says Remacian. Only long-time dicks get to be cunts on this channel, says Mage Lord Exelbert. No, I'm not going to say that. Because it's factually inaccurate, not because I shouldn't say that. I was going to say that, in my opinion, I don't know any... The only cunts that I'm familiar with are men. I was going to say that, and I'm wrong. I'm wrong. Yes. Being a cunt is an equal opportunity, gender, fluid prospect. You can be a cunt with any form of reproductive organs, is what I've found. Tends to be men are the biggest cunts. But yes, I can think of one person comes to mind. And it's not even a person who I, like, hate. One woman. Not even a person who I, you know, properly hate, or who I wouldn't spend time with, or, you know, any stuff like that. I would just say, by dictionary definition, this woman is a cunt. Doesn't mean I wouldn't have a couple of drinks with her, and have a good time, you know, enjoy her company, that sort of a thing. But, objectively speaking, if I were introducing her to other people, I would quietly, before introducing, you know, let them know, now, listen, she's fine, she's just a bit of a cunt is all. And then I would introduce them, you know, just so that they knew what they were getting into, and then they could enjoy her personality, knowing that the cuntishness, the cuntitude, the cuntocracy? I'm not sure how you osity the cunt. That is just, it's there, and I can dismiss it because we know it's there, we've observed that it's there, it's okay, and then you can enjoy the person for their non-cuntish ways. Few, though they may be. Evil Donner Balkan says, I am not a cunt, but I am not that active the last few weeks. It's because you're hiding in your safe little shell. You need to get out there and risk being a cunt. I have an idea. I have an idea for a series of videos for the Ronin Pawn channel. Okay? I don't have a lot of energy, you know this. I don't have a lot of strength to me, and I can't set up the kind of, like, larger productions that I used to aspire to. I just can't do it. I don't have the wherewithal. But I've got an idea for a series that could actually work. A video series, episodic, where I discuss with my manager, who I'd have to, you know, hire, invent, with Morty. I discuss with my manager, with Morty, the issues that arose from the last live stream, or from a recent live stream. Could be a weekly series, couldn't it? once a week, or maybe once every 2 weeks, since I'd have to get somebody else involved here to play Morty. But, for example, hey, I can bypass the way station, hurrah! For example, let's say one of these episodes of my new series is Morty coming to me, or Morticia, if I can get a lady, Morty, saying to me, is it true that on your last live stream, you said the word cunt 38 times in 4 minutes? Which I'd say, I don't recall. And just go from there, just riff. Huh? 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 I came up with the idea when after one of the recent live streams where I said, how do you, like, the people who elected Trump are the ones that I'm afraid of and not Trump himself, and, you know, they are retarded. I used the word retarded and retarded is a word that, at least in the 90s politically correct culture, you couldn't use anymore. I think that you can use retarded again. I think you can start using retarded to describe people who are acting, you know, who are retarded, basically. I think you can, because used to be that retardation and retarded was a medical terminology for a person with limited faculties. They were mentally retarded, as a cloth can be flame retardant if treated properly. It was a use of a word that had a meaning. And then people in the 80s and 90s, mainly school children, started calling each other retarded and retards as an expression of, you're not very bright, are you? And it became politically very incorrect, oh, slow her down, to use the word retarded. But nowadays, the political correctness has been in place for so long that I don't think retarded is even... Like, when I think of calling someone retarded or the use of the word retarded or retard, it doesn't even apply to someone who has the medical condition of a loss of intellectual faculties due to either birth or circumstance or anything. It's just not that. It doesn't refer to them at all in my mind anymore, and as long as the rest of society agrees that it doesn't refer to that condition at all anymore, then can we not reclaim the word retard to be used against all of the people who are fucking retarded? For example, those who cast their ballots for Trump. Or at least who behaved in a retarded manner. Because we all make mistakes. As long as we acknowledge them, learn from them, and move on, then, you know, it doesn't define us. But, if you voted for Trump, the day that you voted for Trump, you were fucking retarded! So I'm thinking, like, Morty would be having a conversation with me, saying, did you call all Trump voters retards in a recent live stream? To which I'd say, I don't recall. And then you just go from there, right? Just that's the show. Every week we take something that I said that was horrible and that you can't get away with. And Morty comes to me and says, are you fucking kidding? You can't do that! What do you think? Huh? Good series? What are you doing? Tier 10, a Ronan Pawn version of Curb Your Enthusiasm. Says Gervais, yes, sort of. Yes, I could get on with that, I think. Tier 5, currently on Discord, is it okay to steal money from online social platforms? I mean, if you're a retarded cunt, I suppose. Jesus. It was changed to intellectual disability, so mental retardation is no longer an accurate classification. Yeah, I have never heard in, I don't know, 10, 15 years, I've never heard anyone, really anyone, using the word retarded, because it's been such a moray on it, socially, societally speaking. But I sure as fuck have, if I have heard it in those years, I sure the fuck haven't heard it used to, like, there's not even an old woman left on the planet who would, you know, like, her daughter's bringing in her son who has a mental disability, who would, like, you know, she's 90-some years old, and she's, you know, was born in whatever 90-some, but she was born so long ago she doesn't get it. There's not even an old woman alive who would be like, now, my daughter's son, you gotta, like, treat him in a certain way because he's a little bit of a retard. Like, she wouldn't even use that, you know? The old people aren't even using that language to describe it. Like, insensitive people who just don't get it aren't even using that language anymore. So I think we've taken retard back. I think we can now use it to describe the properly retarded people. People who do not have an intellectual deficiency, but behave as though they do. Is, of course, the people who we meet. Whose actions display. I don't think I've ever delivered anything to a place like this before. I don't recall coming into this kind of a place. Is this my first time parking at some place like this? I don't know. Pawn, I'm very good with improvised comedy. I'll do it with you. You need to be present in the room. I'm not green screening this. I told you I'm lazy. Oh yes, she would do it with you, Pawn, says Guy Gold Gem. You got a nice ass. It's innocent. It's innocent. You clearly haven't met my grandma, says On to Edge. I've met your grandma, On to Edge. If you don't... Okay. Where the hell am I parking this thing? So it's there and in back. Okay, that's not too hard. Look, it's a nice rounded curve even for me. That'll be easy. It'll be an easy swing. You're gonna give me 90 XP for this? Come on, for Christ's sake. Give me a challenge. It's a shite state of affairs, this. Retarded, you don't steal fucking money from a motherfucking website. Okay, listen, when I curse, it's funny. When you curse, it's Samuel Jackson-ish, and that's kind of entertaining. I'm not gonna get on you about that, I suppose. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's time. I think it's time for cunts and retards to return. It really is. I mean, cunt never went away in Europe. But it went away over here, or never was. I don't know the history. But I know that it's not okay to say it, because it's been a term strictly, you know, used by misogynists to disparage women for a long time. But I think that age is pretty well over as well, you know? And honestly, as I say, all of the cunts that I know tend to be men. There's only one cunt I can think of who's got ovaries. So I think we can have our cunts and retards back. And what, you know, on a Wednesday, Zendnesday, what more could we have possibly discovered than that? You know? What could we have done more than to have returned the cunts and retards to their proper place? I am the Ronin Pawning. You are welcome. What's the quote command again? No, don't quote me, boy. I ain't said shit. Thank you all for coming out to another Wednesday Zendnesday. We actually pulled one off for the first time in a number of weeks. We talked about many, many spiritually relevant, very zen topics, and, you know, a person who was looking for something could definitely get something out of that, and a person who wasn't looking for something could be annoyed for 3 hours and just want me to drive the fucking truck. Right, Jim? So we managed to do a Zendnesday, and we brought retarded cunts in. So that's good. I will be back with another live stream this Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern. We will be playing a game not American Truck Simulator. I don't exactly know what game it is. I suspect that there is more city skylines and transport fever in our future. I actually did a transport fever. I started up a European map from scratch, and I'm doing really well in it. I have gotten to... I did install, by the way, Jim, I installed the 4x slow mod, and I like it. If it's working. If it's not, I'm just gotten better at the game. I don't know. But I like what's going on in the game now. I think this time is actually working, and it's been reduced. But yeah, I started a European map, and I linked together some farms to farm facilities. I did my first town. I found one where I could do it by trucking, so I've got a huge truck industry going between places, and it goes from the farm to the food processor, and then the food processor into town, and I got them all going on a loop, and I made a bunch of money there, and that was my starting point, and I jumped off, and I've connected industry successfully to towns, and connected a number of towns, and built some very thoughtful rail infrastructures where I've got, like, passages for two trains to be able to pass each other on the side of a cliff and that kind of things. On the side of a hill, anyway. It's going very well. I'm still pre-1900s. I think it's 1897 in the timeline, and I am debt-free. I have repaid all of my loans. So, I've had a good run in it. Ready to start a new one, or to carry on in that one. I'll leave it up to you when we do play Transport Fever next, which may be this Friday, or it may be this Sunday. We'll be having a live stream on both of those days at 4 p.m. if you're new, for the express reason that I am the Ronin Pawn. How long have you played the save in hours approximately? I don't know. Approximately? God, I don't know. I'd like to say 4 hours because it would feel like I didn't lose an entire night to playing Transport Fever, but it could be more. It could be more. Started at whenever the game starts. What is it, 1850, and I'm at 1897 now? Could have been 6 hours. I would say between 4 and 6 hours. I don't know, Pi. I don't know. I mean, Jim. I am the Ronin Pawn. I'll see you back here on Friday. Thank you all for coming out. Thank you for the cheers and the subs and your support. And, you know, go be God like you are. Pawn out! What button do I press? How do I do this? Oh.